The first thing my brother-in-law said when I found him in my home office was, "You're early." Not hello, not welcome home. He held up one finger because he was on a call, like I had walked into his office and interrupted him. Behind Aaron's head, centered perfectly inside a ring light, were my Army shadow box and a photograph of my old unit in Kuwait. On the floor around him, 6 cardboard boxes sat open with their flaps spread. Roofing samples leaned against my bookcase. Somebody else's coffee was sweating onto the walnut desk I had built with my father's tools. I had been home from the VA residential program for 11 minutes. Aaron turned back to his monitor. "Absolutely," he said into his headset. "Our whole approach comes from military-grade logistics. That's what separates us." I stood there with my duffel hanging from one shoulder and a paper pharmacy bag crumpling in my fist. Our approach, military-grade. I looked from him to my medals, then at the boxes. What had my husband told him about whether I was coming back? Aaron finished the call with a cheerful promise to circle back. When he removed the headset, his hair stayed flattened in a strip across the top. He grinned as if the strange part was that I wasn't grinning with him. "Surprise," he said. "I guess so." Mark said tomorrow. My ride changed. Right. Okay. He glanced around at the boxes, apparently seeing them for the first time. "Well, this is temporary. There are words people use when they want you to forgive a decision before they explain it. Temporary is one. Family is another." I set my duffel down outside the doorway. My left leg had started vibrating from hip to ankle, a warning I had learned not to bargain with. 7 weeks of treatment had taught me to notice when my body whispered. Before, I waited until it had to throw furniture. "Where's my chair?" I asked. Aaron looked behind himself at the black mesh office chair he was sitting in. "No, the gray one, with the leg support." "Oh, Mark put some stuff in the garage. Some stuff. Your files and everything. It's all safe." He said safe the way a person says your dog is fine after leaving the gate open. I stepped into the room. He had moved my label printer to the windowsill and unplugged the wide monitor I used for route maps. My keyboard was standing on its side between 2 boxes. One shelf had been cleared for sales trophies, although only one trophy had made the trip. It featured a gold plastic roof mounted on a fake marble base. Aaron followed my gaze. "Top regional closer. 2 years ago. I remember. You make that sound like there was a trial." I said 3 words. "Yeah, but you've always been efficient." That was Aaron. He could slip a needle between your ribs and make you feel humorless for bleeding. He stood, and for a second I saw the version of him who had driven me to the VA hospital during the winter. I couldn't trust my right foot on the pedals. He'd waited 4 hours in a vinyl chair, drinking machine coffee and pretending not to notice when I came back from the exam crying. He was selfish in broad daylight and generous in alleys. It made staying angry at him exhausting. He reached for my pharmacy bag. "Here, let me help. I've got it." His hand withdrew. There was a pause. The treatment center had been full of pauses. Pauses before answering. Pauses before assuming. Pauses long enough to discover that the ceiling would not collapse because you didn't fix the moment. Aaron rubbed the back of his neck. "Mark thought you'd want the house to feel lived in. I lived in it. You know what I mean." I did, which was worse. The house looked mostly the same. Mark's boots were beside the back door, toes pointing opposite directions. The ceramic bowl on the entry table held 3 receipts, a dead battery, and no keys. In the kitchen, there were 2 pizza boxes on top of the trash because neither man had pushed the garbage down. Those details steadied me. Disorder was easier to face when it was ordinary. I checked the refrigerator. Beer, deli ham, 6 kinds of hot sauce, no yogurt. A plastic container labeled chicken had a gray fuzz growing under the lid. "You guys start a penicillin lab?" I asked. Aaron came in carrying my duffel despite the fact I had not asked him to. "That's Mark's," he said. "The chicken or the civilization growing on it?" "The chicken. I'm not taking responsibility for the green part." I almost laughed. My body tried, then remembered where my office had gone. Aaron placed the duffel near the stairs. You hungry? I can make eggs. It's 2:30. Eggs don't know that. I'm okay. You look good, by the way. It landed badly, though he meant it kindly. People said you look good when what they wanted to know was whether your insides had stopped inconveniencing everybody. I took my medication upstairs. The bedroom sheets were new, not freshly washed. New. Blue stripes instead of the plain white ones I had bought in bulk because they could be bleached. Mark's nightstand had migrated 6 inches toward my side of the bed, and one of Aaron's phone chargers was plugged into the wall by the dresser. I stared at it too long. Then I put my pill bottles in the top drawer, one by one. Sleep, nerve pain, migraines. The last bottle rattled because I had missed the morning dose during the ride home. My phone showed 2 messages from Mark. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Call me after group if you want, I typed. I'm home. 3 dots appeared immediately, vanished, then appeared again. What? Before I could answer, the phone rang. You're home? Mark said. That's what I wrote. You said Friday. The transport coordinator moved me to today. Why didn't you call? I did. Last night. You didn't answer. I thought that was your regular call. I sat on the edge of the bed. Are there special calls where you listen? That's not what I meant. Downstairs, Aaron turned on the garbage disposal. It made a grinding noise that suggested silverware. Mark lowered his voice. So you saw Aaron. He was hard to miss. Okay, I wanted to explain that before you got there. That would have required telling me. I'm coming home. He hung up before I could ask whether he meant now or eventually. Mark arrived 40 minutes later, carrying grocery store flowers and 2 canvas bags filled with food I no longer ate. He stopped inside the front door when he saw me on the couch. For one raw second, his face opened. Relief, worry, and something like fear moved across it before he arranged himself. Then he crossed the room and hugged me too hard. I smelled his laundry detergent. I felt the edge of his watch press into my spine. My arms came up late. You're really here, he said into my hair. I am. He pulled back but kept his hands on my shoulders. You look good. From the kitchen, Aaron called. Already covered that. Mark gave him an irritated glance. That small irritation comforted me more than the flowers. I was going to clean, Mark said. I didn't ask about cleaning. I know. I'm just saying I wasn't expecting you. I noticed. His hands dropped. We sat at the kitchen table because the dining table had become a storage area for Aaron's printer, extension cords, and a box marked Office. Important, in thick black marker. Mark set the flowers between us without putting them in water. Aaron's lease ended, he began. Leases usually do that on dates. He thought the new contracts would be finalized before then. Aaron opened the refrigerator, looked inside, and closed it without taking anything. They were supposed to be. Mark continued. He needed a place for a couple weeks, maybe a month. A month is more than a couple weeks. He can't afford another deposit until money comes in. I looked at Aaron. Where were you living? My apartment. Where are you sleeping here? The guest room. Then why is your business in my office? Neither man answered quickly enough. Mark leaned forward. You're not supposed to jump right back into work. Supposed to according to who? You just got out. I didn't escape, Mark. I was discharged. That's not what I start Monday. The silence that followed was different. Until then, they had been embarrassed. Now they were surprised. Mark looked at me as if I had announced I was leaving for another deployment. Monday? 4 hours a day for the first week. We talked about this. I thought it was tentative. It was approved 2 weeks ago. You said you were still working through the plan. Yes. Then I worked through it. Aaron quietly removed the trophy from the dining table and held it against his chest. Mark rubbed both hands over his face. Tess, I'm not saying you can't work. I just don't think you understand how hard coming home might be. I glanced around the kitchen. I'm beginning to. Aaron let out a breath through his nose. It might have been a laugh, but when I looked at him, his face was sober. This doesn't need to become a whole thing, he said. I can work around her. Around me? Schedule-wise. In my office. It's a room. Mark said my name softly, Tessa. He used that tone at the treatment center during family weekend. The counselors had asked us to role-play a disagreement, and Mark had spoken so carefully that everyone praised his patience. On the drive back to the hotel, he had snapped at me for adjusting the air vent. I folded my hands beneath the table so nobody could see them shake. The office needs to be back the way it was by Monday morning, I said. Aaron can stay in the guest room while we figure out an actual departure date. Aaron's eyebrows lifted. That's 3 days. For the office. Not for you. My setup took hours, so it'll take hours to move. Mark leaned back. His chair creaked. You've been home less than an hour and you're issuing deadlines. I've been home almost 2. That isn't the point. No. The point is, you gave someone my workspace while I was in treatment and didn't tell me. He's not someone. He's my brother. There's that word. What word? I looked at Aaron. Temporary. He smiled despite himself, then tried to hide it by scratching his cheek. Mark did not smile. I need you not to run this house like one of your supply units. Something in me went very still. Aaron looked down at his trophy. Mark heard his own sentence a moment too late. That came out wrong. I stood carefully, waiting for my leg to accept the weight. Most honest things do. That night, Mark fell asleep facing away from me. I stayed awake listening to the house settle around 2 men who had gotten used to my absence. At 11:43, I heard tape tearing downstairs. I followed the sound to my office. Aaron was kneeling beside one of the boxes, and Mark was handing him books for the cleared shelf. They both looked up. Mark still had his wedding ring on. Aaron still had my unit photograph behind his desk, and the boxes I had told them to close were opening wider. I stayed in the doorway. Mark put another book on the shelf. It was one of mine, a spiral-bound emergency logistics manual with 3 colors of tabs sticking out of it. "What are you doing?" I asked. He glanced at the box as though the answer might be printed on the side. Helping him get organized. At midnight? I couldn't sleep. You were asleep 10 minutes ago. I woke up. Aaron pressed one cardboard flap down, but the opposite flap rose. He pressed that one, and the first came back up. Under other circumstances, I might have enjoyed watching him lose an argument with a box. "I've got a call at 8, he said. "I just need my reference stuff. You've got reference stuff on my shelf already. That's product material. These are client histories. Then you should keep track of them." Mark held up both palms. "Can we lower the temperature?" Nobody was yelling. That was the trick with Mark's temperature. It rose whenever I disagreed with him. I crossed to the desk and picked up my unit photograph. Aaron's ring light left a bright white circle reflected over Captain Alvarez's face. There were 23 of us in the picture, sunburned and squinting, standing in dust so fine it worked through 2 layers of socks. Half the people had their arms crossed because none of us knew what else to do with them. "What's the picture for?" I asked. Aaron stood. It looked good there. "You said your approach came from military-grade logistics. That's just sales language. Who's military?" He frowned. "I didn't say I served. You put my service behind your head and said our approach. I talk about the whole team. Who's on your team?" "I have subcontractors." "Did they serve?" "I don't have everybody's biography memorized, Tess." Mark stepped between us without quite stepping between us. "He isn't claiming your medals." I looked at the shadow box mounted on the wall behind Aaron's chair. "No," I said. "He just moved them." Mark's eyes shifted toward Aaron. Aaron shoved both hands into his sweatpants pockets. It was on the other wall. The light was hitting the glass. "You thought it displayed better here?" "I thought you wouldn't care." That answer, at least, had the dignity of being true. I lifted the shadow box off its hook. It was heavier than it looked. Mark had given it to me at my retirement dinner, then spent the drive home complaining that I hadn't seemed excited enough when I opened it. I had been excited. I had also been trying not to throw up in the restaurant parking lot. Mark reached for it. "Your leg. I can carry it. I know you can. Let me." I've got it. His hand dropped. There it was again, that small recoil whenever I declined help. As if help was a gift only when I accepted it exactly when offered, in exactly the form he preferred. I carried the box upstairs with the photograph tucked under my arm. My left foot clipped the edge of the 7th step. The metals shifted behind the glass with a soft, metallic scrape. Mark followed me into the bedroom. "You could have let me carry that," he said. "I did carry it. You know what I mean." Everyone in that house kept saying that. I set the shadow box against the dresser and put the photograph beside it. Aaron's charger was still plugged into the wall. I pulled it out and held it toward Mark. "Why is this in here?" He borrowed my outlet the other day. He needed to charge his phone while we were talking. There are outlets downstairs. We were folding laundry. Mark gave me a tired look. "Yes, Tessa. Men can fold laundry now. Congress passed something." I put the charger on the dresser. It was funny. I knew it was funny. My mouth even came close to smiling, but the room felt as though somebody had shifted every wall half an inch while I was gone. Mark sat on the edge of the bed. "I'm glad you're home. You keep saying that like you need to convince one of us. That's unfair. Did you think I wasn't coming back?" "What?" "To the house. Did you think they were sending me somewhere else?" "No." "Did you think I wasn't going back to work?" I didn't know what to think. "You didn't tell me much. I told you what I knew. You told me about breathing exercises. You told me the food was bad. You never told me whether you were actually better." The word "better" sat between us like an invoice. "I'm not a transmission," I said. "They didn't rebuild me. You know I don't think that." "What do you think?" He looked toward the shadow box instead of me. "I didn't know which version of you was coming home." I waited. He stood and pulled back the covers. "Can we not do this at midnight?" "It became midnight while you were unpacking your brother." He closed his eyes. That right there." "What?" "The way you talk. Like every conversation is something you need to win." I got into bed without answering. He turned off the lamp and the dark arrived before I was ready. The next morning, Aaron made eggs. He had added chopped peppers, cheese, and too much black pepper. He slid a plate toward me as I entered the kitchen, then raised both hands. "No obligation," he said. "No emotional meaning, just eggs." I sat. Mark had already left for work. His coffee cup was in the sink, half full. Aaron took the chair across from me. He didn't sleep much. "Did he leave you a report?" He looked tired. "You look tired." I've got natural depth around the eyes. I ate a bite. The eggs were good. He watched me chew like I was a food critic who could close his restaurant. "They're fine," I said. "Fine, good, or fine, don't poison me. Fine, good." He pointed his fork at me. "There she is." I put mine down. Aaron's smile faded. "Sorry, don't do that." "Do what?" "Act like any pleasant reaction means I've returned to factory settings." He leaned back. "I was just happy you liked the eggs." I believed him, which made me feel mean. "I do," I said. "Okay." We ate in silence until the refrigerator motor kicked on. Then Aaron said, "You want help getting your chair out of the garage?" The garage smelled like wet concrete and grass clippings. My gray chair was wedged between the lawnmower and a stack of clear storage tubs. The removable leg support had been turned sideways to make it fit. One of the straps dangled beneath the seat. Aaron pulled the mower back while I steadied the chair. "Careful," I said. "The left wheel catches." I remember. He did remember. He tipped the chair at the exact angle needed to clear the storage tubs, then carried the bottom while I guided it toward the door. My locked file cabinet was behind it, still locked, with a fresh scrape across the top. 3 document boxes were stacked beside it. The bottom box had absorbed moisture from the floor and bowed in the middle. I crouched, touched the damp cardboard, and felt my pulse shift. These weren't supposed to be on the floor. I didn't move those. I know. Aaron set the chair down. Mark thought the plastic tubs might leak from the top, so he protected the Christmas lights. He didn't do it like that on purpose. I didn't say he did. You have a way of not saying things at people. Is that in your sales training? He let out a short laugh, then crouched beside me. We can move the files into a dry box. I have dry boxes. They're in the office. Right. He went to get one without being asked. While he was gone, I lifted the top document box and checked the bottom. The dampness had not reached the folders. I exhaled through my nose, counted 4, then did it again. Not because anyone had told me to, because I wanted to make a decision before my body made one for me. Aaron returned carrying an empty box with his company logo printed on the side. Absolutely not, I said. It's cardboard. It says Peak Line Roofing in 6 places. So? I'm not storing Army medical evaluations in a roofing box. He stared at me for a beat. That is so specific, I don't even have a comeback. There are plain boxes in the laundry room. He came back with 2. We transferred the folders together. Aaron did not ask what any of them contained. When my leg began to stiffen, he noticed and shifted his body so I could sit on the overturned bucket without making it an event. That was the version of Aaron who confused people. He could recognize pain from across a room, then use your best chair because it had good lumbar support. How long have your things been here? I asked. He kept his eyes on the folders. Since Wednesday? Yesterday? Most of it. I brought clothes over last weekend. When did Mark offer you the room? His hand stopped. Couple weeks ago. Before your lease ended. I knew it was ending. How many is a couple? Tess. It's a number, not a blood test. 3, maybe. I had been 3 weeks into the program then. That was the week Mark missed our evening call because he said he had fallen asleep on the couch. Did you ask about my work? Aaron folded the empty damp box flat. I asked if you'd need the office. And? He said no. The garage seemed to get quieter. Those exact words? He said you weren't going straight back to work. He said you needed to focus on getting stable. I was stable enough to arrange my return with my supervisor. I don't know what you two talked about. Apparently neither do I. Aaron rubbed his palms against his jeans. I wasn't trying to take anything from you. You're sitting in it. His jaw tightened. I needed help. You did. That doesn't answer why nobody asked me. Because it's Mark's house, too. He can offer you his side of the bed. That's not fair. No, but there's an outlet. He looked away so quickly I knew he was trying not to laugh. I hated that I almost laughed too. By 10, Aaron was back on calls. I sat at the dining table with my laptop and called Linda, my supervisor. She asked about my schedule, my physical therapy appointments, and whether 4 hours still felt manageable. Yes, I said. And your home setup is ready? I looked toward the office. Aaron was pacing in front of the ring light with one hand pressed to his headset. The shadow box was gone, but the empty hook remained on the wall. It will be. After the call, I found Mark's text waiting. Please try not to make Aaron feel like an intruder. He's already embarrassed. I read it twice. Then Aaron's voice rose inside the office. We've built the whole system around military-level precision, he told someone. That discipline is personal for us. I walked to the doorway. He saw me, faltered for less than a second, and turned his chair away. I waited until the call ended. What? He said. No more military language. It's an adjective. It's my life. I'm selling roofs, not metals. Then sell roofs. He removed his headset. Mark said you hated all that stuff. All what stuff? The pictures, the retirement thing. He said you couldn't stand looking at it anymore. I glanced at the empty hook. When did he tell you that? Aaron's face changed. Not guilt, exactly. Calculation. A while ago. What else did he tell you? Ask him. I'm asking you. He rolled the headset cord between his fingers. He said work probably wasn't happening. He said when you came home, the two of you were going to have to figure out what you could handle. My hand tightened against the door frame. Aaron looked down. Then very quietly he added, he made it sound like coming home was the part nobody was sure about. I kept my hand on the door frame until the wood stopped feeling soft beneath my fingers. Did Mark say I might not come back to this house? Aaron's chair squeaked as he shifted. Not exactly. What does not exactly mean? He said there were different options. What options? I don't know. more treatment, some kind of step-down place. He wasn't clear. There was never a plan for a step-down place. Then he misunderstood. Mark doesn't misunderstand in that direction. He misunderstands toward whatever he already wants. Aaron's mouth tightened. I'm not getting between you two. You moved between us. You put a desk there. I needed somewhere to go. So you keep saying. Because it's true. He stood and yanked the headset free from his laptop. One of the ear cushions caught on the corner of the monitor, and he swore under his breath. I lost 2 contracts in the same week, he said. My landlord wouldn't go month to month. Every decent place wanted first month, last month, and a deposit. I called Mark because I was out of moves I could make without admitting I was out of moves. The way he said it stripped some of the shine from my anger. Aaron had been the family's golden recovery story for so long that nobody remembered what he was recovering from. Bad jobs, bad investments, bad girlfriends before he decided women were a distraction from entrepreneurship. Every collapse became the first chapter of his comeback. He could make sleeping in his brother's guest room sound like a strategic retreat if you gave him 5 minutes and a dry erase board. He looked around the office. I asked him twice if you'd be okay with this. Why didn't you ask me? I figured he knew you better. I laughed once. It came out sharp enough to make him flinch. That was not supposed to be funny, he said. It wasn't. He gathered his client notes into a pile. I'll take the next call in the kitchen. You can finish today in here. He stopped. The office needs to be clear by Sunday at noon, I said. That gives me time to put it back together before Monday. I thought you said Monday morning. I've reconsidered. See, that's the problem with deadlines. They start breeding. You can stay in the guest room for 10 days. Starting when? Yesterday. He looked offended. I wasn't even fully moved in yesterday. Exactly. That almost earned a smile, but he caught it before it formed. I carried my gray chair into the dining room and set it at the table. The left wheel caught on the rug, just as I had warned him it would. Aaron lifted the corner of the rug without being asked. My laptop chimed with an incoming video call. For one panicked second, I thought Linda had called back and would see me standing in a room full of extension cords and roofing brochures. Instead, the name on the screen was Nia Brooks. Nia had spent 5 weeks in the room across from mine at the treatment center. Former Navy, 52, a laugh like a truck failing to start. She had a habit of stealing the bananas from breakfast because she said they were the only fruit with protective packaging. I answered without video. Coward, she said, I'm wearing a bra. That's all you get. Show off. You home? I'm home. That pause was suspicious. Aaron walked past carrying the ring light. He mouthed, Kitchen? I nodded. What's happening? Nia asked. My brother-in-law is in my office. Like visiting. Like colonizing. Did he bring a flag? Roofing samples. That is worse. Flags can be folded. I sat in my chair. Mark gave him the room. Nia went quiet. The treatment center had taught us all that silence could be useful. Nia was the only person there who used it without making it feel professionally supervised. You want me to tell you he's wrong? She asked. No. Good. I bill for obvious. I don't know what I want. That costs extra. Through the doorway, Aaron tried to unfold the ring light on the kitchen counter. It sprang open and knocked a wooden spoon onto the floor. He looked toward me to see if I had noticed. I had. Nia said, Did you eat? Aaron made eggs. The colonizer feeds the local population. Complicated. He's not the main problem, I figured. My throat closed around the next sentence, so I didn't say it. Nia let me avoid it for almost 10 seconds. Call me tonight. I might not. Then I'll call you. Don't answer if you don't want to talk. That's a terrible phone system. It's Navy. When we disconnected, I found Aaron crouched under the kitchen table, plugging in a power strip. You can use the wall outlet, I said. This has surge protection. For your laptop? And the light? You don't need the light. He looked up at me from beneath the table. You want me to appear grainy and underfunded? You are underfunded. Exactly. I don't need to appear that way. He spent the rest of the morning taking calls in the kitchen. I tried to review the work messages I had deliberately ignored during treatment, but his voice traveled. Every few minutes, he promised somebody transparency, discipline, or a seamless process. At 11, he referred to his team's service mindset, caught my eye across the room, and corrected himself to service-oriented mindset. It was an absurdly small concession. I noticed anyway. Around noon, he closed his laptop. I'm going to get sandwiches. Turkey? I can get my own lunch. I know. The answer took the wind out of my refusal. Turkey's fine, I said. With? Whatever you're getting. That's dangerous. I have poor impulse control around condiments. You're 40 years old and still growing. He left in Mark's old pickup because his own car was in the shop. Of course it was. I watched from the front window as he backed over the edge of the lawn, corrected, then waved at me as if the mistake had been a greeting. When he was gone, the house became so quiet that I could hear the clock over the stove. I went into the office. Without Aaron, it looked less like an occupation than a room that had lost track of itself. His open boxes blocked the lower cabinets. My label printer sat on the windowsill beside a dead fly. A pale rectangle on the wall marked the shadow box's old position. Mark had filled the hook holes before moving it, which meant he had not expected it to go back. That detail hurt more than the scrape on the file cabinet. I opened the closet. My rolled maps had been shoved upright behind Aaron's winter coat. My footrest was on the top shelf. The framed certificate from the civilian logistics course I took after retirement was lying face down beneath a stack of blank invoices. I picked it up and wiped dust from the glass. Mark had hung that certificate himself. He had insisted we celebrate when I completed the course, even though I told him it was only a 12-week program. He bought a grocery store cake and wrote Master of All Things on it in blue icing because the bakery refused to write profanity. I had laughed so hard I got frosting in my nose. Standing there, I could not make that man fit with the one who had laid the certificate face down. I called him. He answered on the 4th ring. I'm walking into a meeting. Did you tell Aaron I might not come home? A door closed on his end. What? He said you told him there were other options. I said I didn't know what the discharge plan would be. You did know. No, I knew what you hoped it would be. I told you I was coming home. Tess, every time I asked what the counselors thought, you said you were working on it. Because we were. So I was supposed to pretend that meant everything was decided. You told your brother I wasn't returning to work. I said you shouldn't return right away. That isn't your decision. I was trying to protect you. By putting my work in the garage, I had to put it somewhere. You didn't have to move it. He let out a long breath. This is exactly what I was afraid of. What is? You walked through the door and started inventorying everything that was wrong. I looked down at the certificate in my hand. I walked through the door and found someone else at my desk. You know I didn't mean permanently. Then why did you fill the holes where my shadow box hung? He did not answer. Mark? I had to go into the wall to move the hook. I didn't want to leave holes. But you expected the shadow box to go back. Eventually. The meeting room door opened on his end. A man's voice asked whether Mark was coming. I have to go, he said. Sunday at noon. The office will be clear. We'll discuss it tonight. I just discussed it. I ended the call before he could call that winning. Aaron returned with 2 sandwiches, potato chips, and 4 containers of sauce. He set them on the table, took one look at my face, and pushed the mustard toward me without comment. You told him, I said. That you asked? That he made it sound like I might not come back. I answered a direct question. You people should try it. You could have warned me. I thought I did. We ate without talking. Halfway through his sandwich, Aaron opened his mouth, seemed to reconsider, then took another bite. What? I asked. Nothing. You inhaled before nothing. He wiped his fingers on a napkin. He was scared. So was I. I know. No, you know I was in treatment. That isn't the same thing. He called me the first week you were gone. 3 in the morning. He thought you were going to quit the program. I put down my sandwich. Why? Because you told him you hated it. I did hate it. He didn't understand that you could hate something and stay. He has met me. Aaron looked almost amused. That's what I told him. Mark came home at 6 carrying takeout and an apology he never quite delivered. He saw my certificate propped on the dining table and the 2 dry boxes of files beside my chair. You moved everything out here? No. You moved it to the garage. I rescued it from there. I was going to fix that this weekend. Aaron came in from the kitchen. The bottom box got damp. Mark looked at him. Why would you tell her that? Because it got damp. It was fine when I put it there. Cardboard doesn't heal, Mark, I said. He set the takeout bag down harder than necessary. I'm trying. Can you acknowledge that? Trying to do what? To make this work. Your treatment. Aaron's situation. My job. The house. Aaron quietly picked up the food and began taking containers from the bag. Mark watched him, then looked back at me. While you were gone, I had to handle everything. I stared at him. His face changed as he heard it. Aaron froze with a carton of noodles in each hand. Mark rubbed his forehead. That came out wrong. No, I said. Keep going. I didn't mean you don't handle things. How many bills did you pay while I was gone? That's not the point. How many appointments did you schedule? How many groceries did you buy before today? Did you call the insurance company about the roof claim? Did you get your mother's car inspected like I reminded you before I left? Tessa, you said you handled everything. I handled not knowing if my wife was okay. The room went still. Mark's voice dropped. For 7 weeks, I came home and didn't have to wonder if I'd find you sitting on the garage floor because you couldn't remember why you went out there. I didn't have to listen outside the bathroom door to make sure you were breathing. I hated that you were gone, and I was relieved. Aaron set the noodles down. Mark looked ashamed, but he did not take it back. For the first time since I came home, I didn't have a clean answer. He pulled out a chair and sat across from me. The house was quiet, he said, and I could finally be scared without also having to pretend I wasn't. Aaron opened one of the noodle cartons, shut it again, and said, I'm going to eat in my room. You don't have to, Mark said. I feel like I should leave you two alone. You've been in the middle of this since I got home, I said. You might as well get a plate. Aaron looked from me to Mark. That did not sound like an invitation. It wasn't hostile. You two have created an exhausting scale. He put noodles on 3 plates anyway. Mark found forks. I carried the sauce containers to the table, and we sat beneath the light fixture that buzzed whenever the dimmer was set too low. For a while, the only sound was chewing. I kept looking at Mark's hands. They had always been restless hands. He drummed on steering wheels, flipped remote controls, traced the rims of cups. Now they lay flat on either side of his plate, as if he had ordered them not to move. You should have told me, I said. I didn't know how. You told Aaron. He called me. At 3 a.m, apparently. Mark gave his brother a look. Aaron lifted his fork. Direct questions. You could have called me, I said. I did call you. Half the time you had 5 minutes, or you were tired, or somebody was waiting to use the phone room. We were allowed to use our own phones. Then why did every call feel supervised? Because you talked like somebody was grading you. His fork touched the plate. Maybe because the one time I came up there, 6 people asked what I was doing to support your recovery. They asked me the same question. They didn't ask what you were doing to support mine. Aaron slowly lowered his head over his noodles, trying to disappear into carbohydrates. I wanted to answer fast. Fast answers had edges. They made people step back. Instead, I took a drink of water. What did you need? I asked. Mark looked almost suspicious. Then, now. Pick one. I needed to say I was angry without you hearing that I wanted you sick. You were angry that I went? I was angry that it took you falling apart in the garage before you admitted you needed more than appointments twice a month. Aaron stared at his plate. You found me in the garage, I said. Yes, you didn't find a body. I didn't know that when I opened the door. I remembered the cold coming through my jeans, the socket wrench in my hand, a package of light bulbs on the floor beside me because I had gone out there to replace the bulb over the stove and then lost the sequence. It had not felt dramatic at the time. It felt like sitting down for a second while my thoughts caught up. Mark had found me 40 minutes later. I wasn't trying to scare you, I said. That doesn't make it less scary. No. The word surprised both of us. Mark's hands relaxed slightly. I'm glad you went. I'm glad you stayed. I'm also angry that the only way to get you to take care of yourself was for everything to get bad enough that strangers could order you to. Nobody ordered me. You know what I mean. I almost said it with him. Aaron made the mistake of laughing with food in his mouth and had to cover it with his napkin. Sorry, he said when he could breathe. That phrase is doing a lot of work in this house. Mark glared at him. He's right, I said. That's 2 against 1. No one's keeping score. Both men looked at me. Fine, I said. I'm trying not to keep score. Aaron pointed his fork in my direction. Growth. Don't. He lowered it. Mark rubbed his thumb along a scratch in the table. I thought if the office wasn't sitting there waiting for you, you wouldn't feel like you had to prove something the second you got back. So you moved it into the garage. That wasn't how I pictured it. You pictured it? I pictured you taking time, sleeping, going to appointments, maybe working from the couch when you were ready. My back hurts on the couch. That isn't the point. It becomes the point when I'm the one sitting there. He pushed his plate away. I was trying to take pressure off you. You moved my pressure into damp cardboard. Aaron closed his eyes. Mark looked at him. What? I'm not involved. You're making faces. I have a face. It does things. The corner of Mark's mouth moved. He fought it, then gave up. For 3 seconds, the brothers laughed. Mark's laugh was quieter than Aaron's and always arrived late, like he needed permission. I had missed that sound. Missing it did not repair the office. Sunday at noon, I said. Mark's smile disappeared. Aaron can stay the 10 days. His work setup moves out of my office Sunday at noon. Where does he work? The kitchen, the dining room, the public library, his truck. I worked from the passenger seat of a Humvee with a broken air conditioner and a captain eating tuna beside me. I don't think the library lets you sell roofs out loud, Aaron said. Then don't sell them out loud. I'm willing to move, he said. Mark turned toward him. You don't have to agree just because she's upset. I'm not agreeing because she's upset. I'm agreeing because it's her office. It's our office, Mark said. I looked at him. He corrected himself. Our house, her office. Aaron nodded. See? Growth. Mark threw a folded napkin at him. The napkin fell short. Saturday morning, I woke before 5 with the certainty that I had missed a formation. For several seconds, the blue striped sheets made no sense. Then the ceiling fan clicked, my leg ached, and Mark breathed heavily beside me with one hand tucked under his pillow. I did what we practiced, named 5 things I could see, 4 things I could touch, 3 things I could hear. The exercise always felt childish until it worked. By the time the room belonged to me again, Mark had rolled into the warm place I left behind. Downstairs, Aaron sat at the kitchen table in yesterday's shirt, glaring at a spreadsheet. You're up early, he said. So are you. I never went down. He turned the laptop toward me. The spreadsheet was a patchwork of green, yellow, and red cells. Names, square footage, material costs, projected commissions. What's wrong with it? He asked. I haven't looked at it. You made the expression. What expression? The one where numbers have offended you personally. I pulled out the chair beside him. His projected material costs were based on the wrong waste percentage. He had copied a formula from a smaller roof and dragged it through 16 rows without locking the reference cell. The mistake was obvious once you knew where to look. My fingers hovered above his keyboard. Then I pulled them back. What? He asked. What percentage are you using for waste? 10. Are you? He studied the cells. It says 10. Click the formula. He did. His face changed. Oh, yeah. He followed the reference back 3 columns and found the error. That would have been bad, he said. It would have made your estimates look cheaper. Until they weren't. I got up to make coffee. You could have just fixed it, he said. I could have. It would have taken you 5 seconds. It took you 30. He watched me pour water into the machine. Is this a treatment thing? No. It's a me thing I should have learned before treatment. He corrected the sheet himself. When he finished, he said, "Thank you," without making it sound like a joke. At 9, Mark's mother called. Denise did not ask whether it was a good time. She never had. Her voice came through the kitchen speaker while Mark stood at the counter sorting mail. "Tessa, honey, you sound wonderful. I've said 4 words, strong words." Aaron covered his mouth. Denise continued. "Mark said you're settling in." My eyes met Mark's. "Something like that," I said. "I know it's an adjustment. Poor Mark has been beside himself." Mark folded a credit card offer into smaller and smaller squares. Denise asked about the program, then answered most of her own questions. Was the food terrible? Probably. Were the doctors good? They must have been, because I sounded so calm. Did they teach meditation? Her neighbor meditated and had become unbearable. Then she reached the reason for the call. "I'm relieved Aaron's with you," she said. "I was worried sick about where he'd land." Aaron stared at the table. "He's in the guest room," I said. "Well, you have the space." Mark shook his head slightly, but I could not tell who the gesture was for. "Family needs to pull together," Denise continued, "especially after everything Mark managed while you were away." There were those words again. Family, everything. Away, as though I had taken a cruise. "Aaron has 10 days, I said. The line went quiet. 10 days for what? She asked. "To stay here." "Tessa, he can't find an apartment in 10 days. He can start." "Mark?" Mark closed his eyes. "This is between Tess and Aaron," he said. "It was not support. It was an evacuation." Denise made a small injured sound. "I see." Aaron leaned toward the speaker. "Mom, it's fine. It doesn't sound fine." "It is. I should have had a backup plan. You couldn't know those contracts would fall through. I could know leases have dates." I looked at him. He shrugged. "Apparently." Denise asked Mark about her overdue car inspection, which gave everyone a safer problem to discuss. Mark promised to take care of it Monday. I did not remind him that Monday was my first day back at work, and we had only one reliable car while Aaron used the pickup. After the call, Mark stared at the speaker. "You didn't have to give her a deadline," he said. "She asked. She didn't. She was going to." Aaron closed his laptop. "I'm going to start moving the office." Nobody stopped him. We spent most of Saturday carrying his things into the guest room. The bed disappeared behind boxes. The ring light stood in the corner like a mechanical sunflower. Aaron complained continuously but worked steadily. When my leg tightened, he made me sit while he moved the monitors. When Mark tried to stack my files in the closet, I showed him exactly where they belonged. By late afternoon, my desk was visible again. Mark brought the shadow box downstairs and stood beneath the pale rectangle on the wall, holding a drill. "Where do you want it?" he asked. I looked at the metals behind the glass, then at the filled holes where it used to hang. "I don't know yet." His finger rested on the drill trigger. "That's not an answer. It's the answer I have." For once, he did not tell me what I meant. He lowered the drill and leaned the shadow box carefully against the wall. Then he asked, "What do you want here, if you don't want that?" I looked around the half-restored office. The honest answer came before the efficient one. I want to decide before someone decides for me. Mark set the drill on my desk. "All right," he said, "blank wall. For now." "For now," he repeated, though his voice made it sound like I had requested an unfinished ceiling. Aaron passed the doorway carrying the gold roof trophy. "You should put up a painting." "Thank you, Aaron." Something soothing. Water. trees. Keep moving. I'm contributing creatively. You're carrying one object. It's a symbol of excellence. It's plastic. He held it closer to his chest and continued toward the guest room. Mark knelt beside my chair and examined the loose strap on the leg support. This needs a new buckle. It needed one before I left. Why didn't you tell me? Because I know how to replace a buckle. He looked up. That isn't what I asked. I sat on the edge of the desk. I ordered one. It's in the top drawer. He found the replacement buckle in its envelope, then went to the garage for his tools. I could have installed it faster. Mark's hands were better suited to broad repairs than small pieces of nylon, and he threaded the strap backward twice. I let him do it. That should not have felt like an act of courage, but it did. When he finished, he tugged the strap and said, "There. Thank you." He glanced up to check whether I meant it. I did. Sunday morning, I found my car keys in the ceramic bowl by the front door. Mark was loading Denise's inspection paperwork into an envelope because his mother believed mechanics treated loose paper with contempt. "I'm going to the grocery store," I said. He stopped folding the envelope. "I can go. I know. We have food. We have hot sauce. We also have noodles." Aaron ate the last of them at 1:30 this morning. From the guest room, Aaron called, "I was under emotional strain." Mark looked at me. "I'll come with you." I almost said no. The answer sat ready, polished by repetition. Then I picked up his keys and tossed them to him. "You drive." His surprise irritated me, although I had caused it. The supermarket had not changed while I was gone. The automatic doors shuddered open. Cold air came off the produce cases. Somewhere near the bakery, a cart with a damaged wheel made a rhythmic click. Mark reached for a cart, then waited. "What?" I asked. "Nothing. You're staring at me." "I'm not. You're staring beside me with concern. Do you want the small cart? I want whichever cart doesn't pull left." He tested two before selecting one. I pretended not to notice. We started in produce. I chose yogurt, apples, spinach, and peppers. Mark put frozen waffles in the cart before we reached aisle 3. "How did those get into produce?" I asked. "They migrated. Waffles aren't migratory. These are Belgian." The joke was stupid. I laughed anyway. Near the meat counter, a pallet jack beeped behind me. My body reacted before the sound finished. My shoulders locked. The fluorescent lights seemed to sharpen. For 1 second, the aisle became too long, with no good place to stand. Mark's hand closed around my elbow. "Let's go," he said. "I'm okay. We can check out. I need chicken." "We don't need chicken." "I want chicken." "Tess." His grip tightened. I looked down at his hand. He released me immediately. The employee maneuvering the pallet jack apologized and continued past. Nobody else had noticed anything. An older man compared packages of pork chops with the concentration of a bomb technician. I took one slow breath, then another. Mark whispered, "We can leave." "I know." I walked to the chicken case. My legs felt hollow, but they worked. I chose a package, checked the date, and put it in the cart. Mark stayed beside me without touching me again. We finished the list. In the parking lot, he loaded the bags while I returned the cart. When I came back, he was leaning against the trunk. "I thought you were going to go down," he said. "I didn't. You went white. My nervous system enjoys theater. I'm serious. So am I." He pressed his lips together. "Why wouldn't you leave?" "Because I wanted chicken. That's it." It was also on sale. He gave me a helpless look, then laughed. The laugh broke something open in his face. "You scared me," he said. "I scared me too." It was the first time we had said it without either of us becoming responsible for fixing the other. Aaron made dinner that evening. He grilled the chicken badly and covered the evidence with barbecue sauce. We ate on the back patio while the last light settled across the lawn. He told us about a homeowner who had spent 20 minutes explaining that squirrels were a roofing conspiracy invented by insurance companies. Mark told a story about Denise accusing the inspection station of changing the mileage on her car because she did not remember driving 6,000 miles that year. I listened to them laugh and felt the dangerous pull of familiarity. A good meal could make a person believe no decision had been made against her. Warm light could turn an invasion into a family visit. After dinner, Aaron carried his laptop into the guest room. His boxes were stacked along one wall now, most still open. He had cut a narrow path from the door to the bed. "I can close this," he said, lifting one flap. "I believe in you. Don't rush me. I'm adjusting." He had cleared my office by the deadline. Even the roofing samples were gone. My certificate stood on the shelf, my maps were back in the closet, and the label printer sat beside the monitor where it belonged. The shadow box remained on the floor against the wall. I closed the office door and sat in my repaired chair. The room was not restored simply because the correct objects had returned to the correct locations. Aaron's coffee ring remained on the desk. Fresh wheel marks crossed the rug. The room smelled faintly of his citrus deodorant. Still, when I placed my feet on the support and turned on the monitor, something inside me loosened. Mark knocked once and entered. I wanted to say good luck tomorrow. Thank you. Do you want me to stay home? No. Right. He touched the door handle. I knew you'd say that. Then why ask? Because sometimes people like being asked. He had me there. I looked at the second chair. Sit down. He did. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. He examined my shelves as if he were visiting an office at a bank. I didn't give this room to Aaron because I don't respect your work, he said. Why did you? I thought it was empty. I was coming back. I know. Then it wasn't empty. He rubbed his palms over his knees. When you were home, you spent hours in here and came out more tired than when you went in. Sometimes I'd knock and you wouldn't answer. I wore headphones. Sometimes you weren't working. That was true. There had been afternoons when I sat at the desk reading the same email until the words separated from their meaning. There had been days when I closed the office door because it was easier than letting Mark watch me fail to begin. You could have told me you noticed, I said. I did. You told me not to work so hard. What was I supposed to say? You're sitting in a dark room staring at a spreadsheet? Yes, you would have bitten my head off. Possibly. Definitely. I shifted my left foot against the new strap. It held. I'm trying to be different, I said. So am I. Moving my things without asking wasn't different. No. The admission came without defense. I looked at him. He stared at the blank rectangle above the desk. I'm sorry. It was not a complete apology. It did not name the office, the damp files, or the story he had told Aaron about my future. But it was not nothing. I heard you, I said. He nodded as if that was more than he expected. At 8 Monday morning, I closed the office door and logged in. Linda had scheduled my first team meeting for 8:30. Before it began, she sent a message reminding everyone that I was returning on reduced hours and was not to be buried under 7 weeks of problems. Within 2 minutes of seeing my face on screen, a dispatcher named Carl said, "We saved all the fun ones for you." Then you misunderstood Linda's message. He grinned. There she is. My spine stiffened. Then Carl shared his screen, and a supply map filled my monitor. One of the western routes had been redrawn while I was gone. The new version sent 2 trucks across the same narrow delivery window on Thursdays. Who approved that overlap, I asked. Carl's smile disappeared. We thought it saved mileage. It does until both trucks arrive at the same loading dock. Linda leaned closer to her camera. Can you flag the conflict and recommend another sequence? I can. The work settled around me. Dates, distances, weight limits, driver hours, problems with shapes, problems that did not mind being named. At 9:15, someone knocked. Before I could answer, Aaron opened the door and leaned in. Do you have the long charging cable? I muted myself. No, I thought it was in here. I'm working. I know, I just need... Close the door. He did. At 9:40, Mark texted. Mom's inspection place says they can't take her until Wednesday. Can you call the one near the highway? I turned the phone face down. At 10:10, Aaron knocked again. What? The internet's bad in the guest room. It's the same internet. The signal isn't. I'm in a meeting. I have a client call at 11. So do I. He closed the door more firmly than necessary. By 11:30, I had corrected the route sequence, answered 12 emails, and ignored 2 more messages from Mark about his mother's car. My leg throbbed. The screen had begun to shimmer at the edges, the first warning of a migraine. I finished at noon because Linda had made me promise I would. When I opened the office door, Aaron was standing in the hallway with his laptop tucked under one arm and the ring light under the other. "What are you doing?" "Your hours are over. My workday is over." "Right. So I'll use the room in the afternoons." "No." He blinked. "Mark said that was the compromise." "Mark isn't standing here. He said you'd be done at noon." I looked past him toward the kitchen. My medication alarm sounded upstairs, a soft chime I could barely hear. Aaron shifted the ring light to his other hand. "I moved everything out like you asked," he said. "I just need the room for calls. You didn't move out if you were waiting to move back in." His face hardened. Then he said the sentence Mark had apparently taught everyone while I was away. "It's only temporary." I looked at the ring light, then at him. "Aaron, put it down." "Where?" "Anywhere that isn't my office. It's a light, not artillery. Then it should be easy to relocate." He set it against the hallway wall. I cleared the room. "I did everything you asked. You cleared your belongings out of it? That wasn't a 12-hour rental agreement. You're not using it. I'm standing in it. You know what I mean." Apparently, that phrase is contagious. He tucked his laptop tighter against his ribs. "Mark said mornings were yours and afternoons were mine." Mark and I never had that conversation. He thought, "I'm no longer arranging my life around things Mark thinks on my behalf." My medication alarm chimed again upstairs. Aaron heard it. His eyes went to my face, and whatever argument he had prepared softened at the edges. "You okay?" "I need to take my medication." "Is it the migraine?" I hated that he could tell. "It's none of your business." "Okay." He stepped aside. "I can get you water. I know where the water is." His jaw shifted, but he nodded. I closed the office door before going upstairs. Not because I thought Aaron would sneak inside while I took a pill, because I did not want an open door mistaken for permission. When I came down, he was sitting in the parked pickup with his laptop propped against the steering wheel. The ring light stood on the passenger seat, glowing through the windshield. He looked like he was being interrogated by a very small son. I watched from the window long enough to see him smile and begin his sales pitch. Then I drew the curtain and lay on the couch with an ice pack over my eyes. Mark called at 12:40. What happened with Aaron? Not how was work, not how are you feeling. I shifted the ice pack. He tried to use the office. I told him afternoons would probably be fine. Why? Because you're done at noon. My reduced work hours are not public office hours. He has to earn money if you want him out in 10 days. So the reward for respecting my deadline is access to the thing he took without asking? That isn't what happened. It is exactly what happened. Mark exhaled into the phone. I could hear machinery somewhere behind him. He said you made him take a call in the truck. I didn't make him do anything. There's nowhere quiet inside. The guest room? The signal is weak. The dining room. You can hear everything from the kitchen. The library. He can't make sales calls at the library. Then he should solve one problem without assigning me as the solution. Mark was quiet. I moved the ice pack. Light stabbed the corner of my vision. "How did my first day go?" I asked. "What? My first day back at work. How did it go?" I assumed fine. "You assumed Aaron's call did not." "Tess, don't do that." "Do what?" "Set traps." "It wasn't a trap. It was a question you didn't think to ask." Another machine started on his end. He said something to someone away from the phone, then came back. "How did work go?" "Fine. That's it?" "That's the answer I have now. You're impossible. I caught a route conflict that would have tied up 2 trucks at one dock." "Good." "I finished on time." "Good. I have a migraine." His voice changed. "You overdid it." There was no hesitation. No possibility that the migraine had come from poor sleep, fluorescent lights, medication changes, or finding my office occupied. Work was guilty because Mark had already convicted it. I have migraines when I don't work, I said. Maybe you should call Linda and wait another week. No. You've been home 4 days, and I completed my shift. You're lying on the couch with ice on your face. I did that before I went away. That's supposed to reassure me. The front door opened. Aaron came in carrying the ring light and saw me on the couch. He stopped so abruptly that one leg folded halfway shut. I have to go, I told Mark. Did you call the inspection place? No. Tess, I'm not handling your mother's car while I'm on medical leave from handling everyone. You're not on leave. You just told me you worked. I ended the call. Aaron lowered his voice. Bad time? There have been stronger ones. He collapsed the ring light carefully, making sure the metal joints did not snap. The call was a bust. I removed the ice pack. Because you were in the truck? Because the guy wanted a 40% discount and a free gutter system. Did the signal drop? Twice. I put the ice pack back. He carried the light toward the guest room, then paused. I can get a Wi-Fi extender. That sounds reasonable. I'm not asking you to pay for it. I didn't think you were. I'm also not asking you to install it. I didn't think that either. He stood there another moment. You don't have to fight sentences I haven't said. That's fair. He nodded and disappeared down the hall. 10 minutes later, he returned with a glass of water and set it on the coffee table without speaking. Mark came home with the expression of a man prepared to be patient under hostile conditions. He looked at the darkened living room, the ice pack, and the glass of water. You should have rested today, he said. I rested after work. You know what I mean. I sat up. If you say that one more time, I'm putting it on a jar and charging you $1. Aaron called from the guest room. I'll split it with you. Mark ignored him. I'm worried. You're making predictions and calling them worry. What does that even mean? It means I had a migraine and you turned it into proof I shouldn't work. I disagreed about the office and you turned it into proof I'm not adjusting. You decide what something means before I tell you what happened. You tell me after you've already handled it. Because when I tell you during, you take over. I'm your husband. That isn't a medical qualification. No, it's a relationship. Then relate to me. Don't manage me. His face closed. Aaron emerged holding a package of crackers. I'm going to eat these outside. It's 90 degrees, Mark said. I'll hydrate. He slipped through the back door. Mark sat on the opposite end of the couch. I didn't give him the office to hurt you. I believe that. You say it like intent doesn't matter. It matters. It just isn't the only thing that matters. He looked toward the hallway. What is he supposed to do for work? Buy the extender. He has $38 in his checking account. I had not known the number. I did not want to know the number. Then you buy it, I said. You're okay with me doing that? It's $20, Mark. I'm not rationing antibiotics. He's embarrassed. So stop announcing his bank balance. The back door opened. I could hear that, Aaron said. Mark stared at the floor. Aaron walked to the kitchen, opened the cracker package, and said, for accuracy, it's $43. A client paid me a cancellation fee. Congratulations, I said. Thank you. I'm thriving. He bought the extender that evening. At 8:15 Tuesday morning, the internet disappeared in the middle of my meeting. Every face on the screen froze. Carl was caught with his mouth open. Linda's eyes had gone half shut. Then the conference vanished. I checked the router status. Red. From the hallway came a muted thump, followed by Aaron saying, "Oh, come on." I opened the office door. He was kneeling beside the router with the extender instructions in one hand. What did you do? It said to restart the network. While I'm working? I thought restart meant the extender. The network means the network. I understand that now. Turn it back on. I am. Do it faster. He looked up. That isn't how electricity works. My laptop chimed as the connection tried and failed to return. I gripped the doorframe. Aaron saw my hand and stopped joking. 2 minutes. I'm sorry. The network returned in 90 seconds. I rejoined the meeting. Linda asked if everything was all right, and I said yes too quickly. Carl repeated his update. I took notes. answered questions, and tried to ignore the hot pulse behind my left eye. At 10, I adjusted the Thursday delivery window for a part supplier. The correct time was 3:10. I typed 1:30. The numbers looked wrong. Then Aaron dropped something in the hallway. My phone lit up with another message about Denise's inspection, and the thought passed before I caught it. At noon, no one waited outside my office. The hallway was empty. The ring light remained in the guest room, and Aaron conducted a call in the kitchen so quietly I could hear only pieces. I should have been pleased. Instead, I reopened the delivery schedule. 1:30 stared back at me. At that time, the receiving crew would be at lunch and the prior truck would still occupy the dock. Nobody would die. Nothing would explode. A driver would wait, the schedule would slip, and 3 other deliveries would move with it. An ordinary mistake. My hands began to shake. I corrected the time, documented the change, and messaged Linda before I could decide to hide it. Entered the wrong dock time. Caught during review. Corrected to 3:10. No downstream impact. Her response came less than a minute later. Good catch. That's why we review. I read it until the words blurred. The program had given me a name for what happened next. Catastrophic thinking. My mind did not care what it was called. It showed me every mistake I had ever made, then every mistake I had prevented, as if prevention had only been luck wearing a uniform. A knock came. What? My voice cracked. Aaron opened the door 2 inches. Can I come in? No. Okay. He did not move. What do you need? Nothing. You've been in there a while. I'm working. It's 12:30. I looked at the clock. He was right. I shut down the computer and walked past him without explaining. That evening, Aaron spread 3 rejected estimates across the dining table. The formula error had made his bids look better than they were. Corrected, one homeowner chose another company. The other 2 wanted time. I need an extension, he said. Mark sat beside him. Until the end of the month. I looked at Mark. He has 5 days left. That deadline was made when we thought those contracts were coming through. We knew nothing was guaranteed. We're not putting him out with $43. Where would you like to put him? Mark's expression hardened. He stays here. Aaron looked down at the estimates. Mark. No. I'm not letting my brother panic because of some arbitrary date. You agreed to it. I agreed because you had just come home and I was trying to keep things calm. The room seemed to tilt, though I was sitting still. You never intended to honor it. Mark leaned back. I intended to discuss it when you were in a better state. Aaron's eyes closed. I waited for Mark to hear himself. He didn't. Say it again, I said. Mark frowned. What? The part about my state. I said this isn't the best time to make permanent decisions. A move-out date isn't permanent. That's the point. You're exhausted. You had a migraine yesterday. You made a mistake at work today. I had not told him about the dock time. My eyes went to Aaron. He shook his head quickly. I told him you seemed upset. That's all. Mark looked between us. So there was a mistake. An ordinary one. I caught it. What kind? The kind I corrected before it affected anything. But you spent the afternoon worked up. Aaron pushed the estimates into a stack. She's not worked up now. Stay out of this, Mark said. I'm literally the subject. You're my brother. I'm trying to make sure you have somewhere to sleep, and I appreciate it. But you're talking about her like she's not at the table. Mark's face changed. Not much. A small tightening around the mouth. Aaron had violated the family chain of command, and none of us knew what to do with that. I turned to Aaron. How much time do you actually need? He glanced at Mark before answering. If one of these jobs comes through, 2 weeks. If they don't, I need to stop waiting on them and find something with a paycheck. You already need to do that, I said. I know. Mark shook his head. He can rebuild. He just needs breathing room. Aaron rubbed his forehead. I've been rebuilding for 6 years. The admission seemed to embarrass him more than the $43. I'm good at selling, he said. I'm good with homeowners. I'm not good at being the person who estimates, schedules, orders materials, collects payment, and remembers whether the truck needs oil. It does, Mark said. See? I folded my hands on the table. The following Friday, Aaron counted silently. 10 more days. Yes. And the office? Is my office. He nodded. Okay, Mark pushed back his chair. You don't get to decide that by yourself. You decided the end of the month by yourself. I'm trying to keep my brother off the street. Aaron's mouth twisted. Can we stop saying street? There are motels. There are rooms for rent. There's Mom's couch if I'm prepared to die under decorative pillows. You're not staying with Mom. Why? Because she'll make me get a real job? Because she'll drive you insane. That might improve me. Mark stood. This is ridiculous. No, I said. This is 3 adults discussing a date. It only feels ridiculous because I'm not accepting the one you chose. He left the table and went upstairs. Aaron stared after him. I could still leave Sunday, could you? He considered it, not without borrowing money. From Mark. Probably. Which means from us. He looked at me. Probably. At least you're direct. I'm experimenting. I agreed to Friday because 10 more days gave Aaron enough time to apply for salaried work and look for a rented room. That was what I told myself. The less flattering truth was that I could not stand the thought of Mark telling everyone I had thrown his brother into a motel 4 days after coming home from treatment. I had set a boundary and then widened it until nobody had to feel the full shape of it. Upstairs, Mark lay on top of the covers with his phone inches from his face. We have counseling Thursday, I said. I know. Are you going? You think I need it? That wasn't my question. He lowered the phone. Yes, I'm going. I changed into an old t-shirt and got into bed. He waited until I turned off my lamp. Did you make a mistake today? He asked. I entered 1:30 instead of 3:10. That seems easy to do. It is. Did anyone get upset? No. Then why did Aaron think something was wrong? Because I was scared. Mark rolled onto his side. Of what? That it meant you were right. His expression softened so quickly it hurt. He reached across the space between us and laid his hand over mine. Maybe it means Monday was too soon. I pulled my hand away. His face closed again. That's what I'm talking about, I said. You don't hear scared, you hear permission. Wednesday morning, I reviewed every number I entered 3 times. By 11, my neck hurt from leaning toward the screen. Linda messaged me privately during a meeting. You're checking work Carl already approved. Just making sure, I wrote. Once is making sure, 3 times is feeding something. I stared at her message. Linda had worked with me long enough to know when I was no longer solving the problem in front of me. She also knew better than to tell me to relax. I closed the schedule. At 11:40, Denise called Mark, then Aaron, then me. I let it ring. She called again. On the 3rd attempt, I answered. Is someone hurt? My inspection appointment was supposed to be this morning. Did Mark confirm it? He said he was handling it. Then call Mark. He's not answering. He's working. So are you, apparently. Her tone managed to turn my job into an eccentric hobby. I finish at noon. Well, I need the car inspected before Friday. The sticker expired last month. Yes. Yes, what? Yes, it expired. She sighed. Can you call that place you use? I could. I'm not going to. There was a long pause. Is this something they taught you? She asked. What? This refusal business. They taught me watercolor on Wednesdays. The refusal is mine. In the kitchen, Aaron choked on coffee. Denise lowered her voice. Mark has had a very difficult time. I know. He doesn't need more piled on him. Your car isn't on him unless he agrees to put it there. He did agree. Then call him. I hung up before the conversation became a family referendum. At 12:15, Mark called. You couldn't help her? I could have. Then why didn't you? Because I was working and because you promised to handle it. I forgot. That happens. She called my supervisor's office. I closed my eyes. That also sounds like her. I have to leave early and drive her across town. Okay. You don't care. I care. I'm not taking it from you. What does that mean? It means I'm not calling 3 shops and rearranging the problem until your promise becomes my task. This new version of you is very convenient. For whom? He hung up. 5 minutes later, Aaron came into the dining room carrying a printed job application. Do you know what enterprise sales means? Yes. Are you going to make me figure it out? Yes. He sat across from me. I hate your journey. You'll survive. We spent an hour on the application. He wrote his answers. I asked questions when his sentences became foggy. When he described himself as the sole architect of a multi-market residential strategy, I asked how many markets. 2 counties, he said. Write 2 counties. That sounds small. It sounds true. Truth has terrible branding. He changed it anyway. The counseling office had beige chairs, beige walls, and a machine that produced beige noise outside the door. Our counselor, Maya Patel, wore red glasses that looked almost rebellious in the room. Mark sat angled away from me. Maya asked how my return had gone. Fine, Mark said. I looked at him. He corrected himself. Complicated. What has been complicated? She asked. Tessa came home to an unexpected situation. My brother-in-law was in my office, I said. Maya looked at Mark. Did Tessa know he would be there? No. Why not? I didn't want to distract her while she was in treatment. Was there another reason? Mark glanced at me. I thought she'd react exactly like she reacted. My skin warmed. How did she react? Maya asked. She started setting deadlines, moving things, asking the same question 5 different ways. I asked why he was there. You asked where every object went, because you put my medical files in the garage. Maya lifted one hand. Let's slow down. Mark, what meaning did you assign to those questions? He leaned forward. Hypervigilance, control, the things we were told to watch for. There it was. Maya turned to me. What did the questions mean to you? That my belongings had been moved without my permission? Were you experiencing hypervigilance? Yes. After I went upstairs, I checked the bedroom window 3 times even though I knew it was locked. Mark looked at me. I continued. Checking a locked window 3 times is hypervigilance. Objecting when someone occupies my workspace after I told him not to is a boundary. Maya did not nod or announce a winner. She wrote something on her pad. Mark said, the way she enforces the boundary is the problem. What way? Maya asked. She talks like an order has already been issued. Usually because the decision was already made without me, I said. Maya looked between us. What did each of you believe treatment would change? Neither of us answered. The beige noise machine hissed outside. Finally, Mark said, I thought she'd come home able to let things go. I looked at him. Which things? Not the office? Everything? That's not an answer. He rubbed both hands over his face. I thought home wouldn't feel like another place I could fail an inspection. The sentence landed cleanly because there was truth in it. Maya asked me what I had expected. I thought I'd come home and be allowed to practice what I learned, which was to notice when I'm afraid, to ask directly for what I need, to stop doing things for people so they won't be angry with me. Mark let out a small laugh with no humor in it. So treatment taught you to say no. It taught me to hear myself say yes when I meant no. On the drive home, Mark kept the radio off. At a red light, he said, You made me sound manipulative. I described what happened. You always have the cleaner description. I spent years writing incident reports. That isn't funny. It was a little funny. He gripped the steering wheel. You have language for everything now. Boundaries, hypervigilance, catastrophic thinking. You get to name the whole room. I would trade the vocabulary for not needing it. He did not answer. When we reached the house, Aaron was in the dining room wearing a clean button-down shirt and speaking into his headset. He held one finger up as we entered, finished the call, then removed it. Interview Monday, he said. For the enterprise sales job? I asked. 2 County Empire. I smiled despite myself. Good. Mark went upstairs without congratulating him. Aaron watched him leave. Productive counseling? We used several products. I'll take that as no. He closed his laptop. I also got a call from the property management company. The big one, the one that wanted time. They want a full presentation here on Saturday. Their regional manager and 2 partners. Here? They want to see the operation. I looked around at his laptop, the kitchen outlet, and the guest room crowded with boxes. Aaron's optimism dimmed. I was going to ask if I could use the office, he said. No, I figured. And don't mention me or my service. He nodded once. Understood. From the stairs, Mark said. She could at least hear what they're asking for. Neither of us had heard him come back down. Aaron's face tightened. I looked at my husband. I just told him no. Mark leaned against the banister. And I'm saying, maybe you don't have to answer every question like the building is on fire. Aaron slowly removed his headset and placed it on the table, as if preparing for impact. I didn't answer Mark. Aaron did. She already said no. Mark straightened. I heard her. Then why are we still discussing it? Because adults can reconsider. Aaron glanced at me. I don't think that's where this is headed. You have a chance to land the account that gets you out of this house, and she won't let you use a room for 2 hours. That room is not why I haven't landed the account. What does that mean? It means I screwed up the estimates. It means I've been selling a bigger operation than I have. Her office doesn't change either thing. Mark stared at him. Aaron shrugged one shoulder. Direct answer experiment. I picked up the headset from the table and held it toward him. You can use the dining room Saturday. 2 to 4. His eyebrows rose. The office stays closed. My name stays out of it. My service stays out of it. I'm not preparing anything, serving anything, or explaining anything. Understood. Mark folded his arms. You're going to be in the house while people are here? I live here. I'm asking because it might be distracting. My laugh arrived before I could stop it. What? He asked. You invited a business presentation into my home, and now my presence might be distracting. I didn't invite them. You're arguing harder for it than Aaron is. Aaron took his headset. I can book a hotel conference room. With $43, Mark asked. $31. I bought an extender. I'll pay for the room. He can use the dining room, I said. I already said yes. Mark looked at me as if my yes had arrived in an unacceptable tone. Friday's work went better. I finished 2 route adjustments, reviewed a carrier contract, and stopped myself after the second check of a dock schedule. The urge to check a 3rd time sat beneath my ribs like an itch I could not reach. I left it there. At 11, Linda asked me to stay on after a meeting. You're doing well, she said. My first reaction was suspicion. She saw it. That was not the beginning of bad news. I know. Do you? Not especially. She smiled. Your reduced schedule is doing what it's supposed to do. You're contributing without carrying the entire operation. Carl approved a fuel surcharge without comparing the alternate carrier, and Carl is correcting it. I could do it in 10 minutes. That sentence is why you're logging off at noon. After the call, I watched the clock until 12, then shut the laptop. Aaron sat at the dining table, surrounded by printed slides. He had changed the title of his presentation 3 times. The discarded pages read, Scalable Roofing Solutions, a Better Roofing Partnership, and Peakline Built for Scale. The current version said Peakline Property Services. That one sounds like you clean gutters, I said. He looked up. You said you weren't helping. I'm not. I'm passing through with judgment. Very different service. On his screen was a calendar divided into territories, inspection blocks, material orders, and installation windows. The colors were too similar. 4 shades of blue became one large bruise from across the room. Can you read this? He asked. Yes. From there. Yes. Which color is installations? I have no idea. He stared at the screen. That's not consulting, I said. That's vision. He changed installations to orange. Mark came home early carrying 2 folding chairs borrowed from his office. He set them against the wall and surveyed the dining room. "We need to move that cabinet," he said. "The cabinet belonged to me. It held table linens, candles, and the serving dishes Denise gave us because she thought our original dishes looked temporary." "No," I said. "It crowds the table. It has been there 9 years. 3 people are coming. There are 6 chairs. They may want to see the slides from different angles." Aaron glanced at the laptop. "There's one angle, toward the screen." Mark ignored him. "We should clear the photographs off the top. My parents' wedding picture, a photograph of Mark and me at Shenandoah, and an old snapshot of Aaron asleep in a patio chair stood on the cabinet." "Why?" I asked. "Professional appearance. You're presenting in a dining room. That doesn't mean it has to look like a dining room." Aaron leaned toward me. "If you tell him that's exactly what it means, I will give you $9. You have 31. I'm managing risk." Mark lifted the photographs. I took them from his hands and returned them to the cabinet. "You offered him the dining room," he said. "I did not offer him a staged home. Tessa, these people manage 48 properties. Do they fear photographs? I'm trying to help." Aaron closed his laptop. "Then help me rehearse. Leave the room alone." Mark looked hurt. For a moment, I saw the habit from the outside. Mark needed his help to be accepted as badly as I did. The difference was that he called refusal disrespect. He and Aaron rehearsed in the dining room while I read upstairs. Their voices came through the floor. Aaron rushed the opening. Mark kept interrupting to suggest stronger words. "Don't say reliable," Mark said. "Everybody says reliable." "What should I say?" "Disciplined." I put my book down. Aaron said no. "Why? Because we're staying away from certain themes. It's a normal word. Find another normal word." There was a pause. "Consistent," Mark said. "Great." I picked up my book again. Saturday morning, the house smelled like coffee and furniture polish. Mark had woken at 6 to clean the downstairs. He vacuumed beneath the dining table, wiped fingerprints off the back door, and arranged bottled water on a tray. When he saw me make toast, he said, "There are bagels. I want toast. The bagels are for later. That explains why I'm not eating one. I'm saying you can have one if you want." "I know." He turned away from me with the suffering patience of a man married to a difficult toaster user. Aaron came downstairs in a navy suit he had bought when he was regional closer. The jacket pulled slightly across his shoulders. His tie was red and he had tied it 3 times. "Too political?" he asked. "It's a tie," I said. "Everything red is political now." Mark adjusted the knot. "Blue would wash you out. Thank God you're here." At 1:30, I carried my laptop into the office and closed the door. I had no work scheduled. I intended to review a novel Nia had recommended, but I read the first page 4 times without absorbing it. The visitors arrived 12 minutes early. Voices moved through the entry. Aaron introduced himself, then Mark. Shoes crossed the hardwood. A woman laughed politely at something Mark said. I turned on a desk fan to blur the sound. For 20 minutes, it worked. Then someone knocked. I waited. The knock came again. Mark opened the door. He had taken off his shoes but was still wearing dress pants and a button-down shirt. "What?" "They're asking about operations." Then Aaron should answer. He did. "They want to know how the schedule scales. That's in his presentation." One of them asked who designed the routing. I looked at him. "Did Aaron tell them I did? He said he had family support." "That is not an answer." "Tess, it would take 2 minutes. Just explain the framework." "No. They're sitting 10 feet away. That doesn't change my answer." His voice dropped. "Do you have to make everything a test? Leave my office." He stared at me, then stepped back. I closed the door. Through it, I heard Aaron begin talking again. His voice was less smooth than usual, but he kept going. 5 minutes later, one of the men asked, "And the military background is in-house?" The room inside me changed. Aaron said something too low for me to catch. Mark answered clearly. "My wife served 16 years in Army logistics. A lot of what you're seeing comes from systems she used. I was out of the chair before I decided to stand. When I entered the dining room, 3 strangers turned toward me. The woman at the head of the table wore a charcoal suit and glasses with clear frames. Beside her sat a broad man with a pink scalp and a younger man in a vest that looked designed for fishing, despite being indoors. Aaron stood near the laptop. His face had gone pale. Mark smiled too brightly. "This is Tessa." "I gathered," the woman said. Aaron spoke first. "Tess, this is Marlene Grant, David Cho, and Paul Webster." I nodded. "Hello." Marlene smiled. "Your husband was just telling us you helped design Peakline's operating system." "No, I didn't." Silence spread across the table. Mark's smile held. I continued, because stopping would have left the lie standing. I looked at one spreadsheet and pointed out a formula error. I don't work for Peakline, and my military service is not connected to the company. Aaron closed his eyes for half a second. Marlene removed her glasses, cleaned one lens, and put them back on. "Thank you for clarifying. I told them not to bring me into the presentation." David looked at Mark, then Aaron. Mark said, "There's been a misunderstanding." "There hasn't," I said. I was clear. Aaron stepped forward. "This is on me." I looked at him. He swallowed. "The routing framework is mine." Tessa gave me some general feedback, but she's not part of the company. I should have made that clear from the beginning. Mark stared at his brother. Marlene tapped the printed calendar. "Can you support this process without her?" "Yes," Aaron said. She nodded once. "Then show us." I went back to the office and closed the door. My hands shook too badly to hold the book. The presentation continued for another 35 minutes. Aaron's voice settled. He answered questions about crews, materials, and response times. Nobody asked for me again. When the visitors left, Mark remained by the front door until their car disappeared. Then he turned. "You couldn't wait until after?" Aaron began gathering the water bottles. "She shouldn't have had to. I'm talking to my wife." "You put her on the spot." I gave her an opportunity to help this family. The words struck harder than I expected. Aaron set the bottles down. "Don't." Mark looked at him. "You had one chance, and I still have it. Marlene wants updated numbers Monday. You think that went well?" "She asked me to prove I can do it without borrowed credentials. That's fair." Mark's face reddened. "Borrowed credentials? I talked about my wife, after she told you not to." I stood in the office doorway. Mark turned toward me. "You would rather watch him fail than give him 2 minutes of your time." I gave him 10 days, then 10 more. I let him bring strangers into my home. I reviewed his application. I found an error that could have cost him money, and you made sure those people knew exactly how little you'd done. I made sure they knew what I had not agreed to do. He gestured toward the office. "You have all this experience, all these systems, and you sit in there guarding them like someone's trying to steal your identity. My experience isn't a family appliance. No, it's a shrine. That's why the medals have been sitting on the floor for a week." The house went silent. Aaron looked at Mark with open disbelief. Mark saw my face and took a step toward me. "Tess, I didn't mean—" "You did." I went into the office and shut the door. This time I turned the lock. The handle moved once. "Tess," Mark said through the door. I sat behind my desk with both feet planted on the floor. "Tess, open the door." "No, I shouldn't have said that, no." Aaron said something in the hallway. His voice was low. Mark answered more sharply. "I'm trying to apologize. You're trying to get the door open. What's the difference?" I laughed, though nothing was funny. He knocked again. "I'm sorry I called it a shrine." I looked at the shadow box leaning against the wall. The retirement flag was folded into a triangle above the medals. Mark had chosen the dark wood because it matched my desk. "Why did you?" I asked. "Why did I what?" "Call it that." I was angry. Anger doesn't invent things. It removes the editing. That's not fair. Then go away until you find an apology you don't have to defend. His shadow remained beneath the door for several seconds. Then the floor creaked as he walked off. I stayed in the office until dark. Nia called twice. I ignored the first call and answered the second. "You alive?" she asked. "Technically. Eating? Not currently. Kill anybody? No. Then the day remains salvageable." I told her about the presentation. She listened without interrupting, except when I reached the part where Mark called my medals a shrine. "What an ass," she said. He was angry. Angry asses are still asses. He bought the shadow box. That doesn't mean he gets visitation rights to your service. I leaned back in my chair. I walked into that dining room and corrected him in front of strangers. Good. It didn't feel good. Good and pleasant are different departments. I might have cost Aaron the contract. Did you? No. Then stop picking up imaginary bags. You already have enough luggage. After we disconnected, I opened the office door. A plate sat on the floor. Aaron had left a sandwich, chips, and one of his absurd sauce containers. On the napkin, he had written, "No emotional meaning. I ate at my desk." Mark slept on the couch that night. He did not announce it or carry a pillow past me with theatrical sadness. He simply stayed downstairs after the television went quiet. Sunday afternoon, Aaron found me replacing the filled-in hooks for my certificate. He stopped in the doorway. "Can I come in?" "Yes." He remained by the door. I sent the updated numbers to Marlene. Good. She asked for crew references. Also good. She didn't mention yesterday. She probably has other things in her life. I've heard rumors. I tightened the screw by hand. Aaron watched me. I used the military thing before Mark ever did. Yes. I knew it made me sound credible. I told myself it was okay because you were family and because I wasn't saying I served. Yes. He shifted his weight. You can say more than yes. I'm waiting to see if you're apologizing or building a defense. His mouth twisted. This direct answer experiment is brutal. You'll adjust. He looked at the shadow box. I'm sorry. I set the screwdriver down. He continued. Not just for the presentation, for the calls, for sitting in your chair, for assuming Mark had the right to say yes for you. Thank you. I still need to stay until Friday. I know. Possibly longer. No. I said possibly. And I answered definitely. He rubbed the back of his neck. Fair. That Monday, Aaron wore his Navy suit for the interview and took the call in the parked pickup so no one could mistake my office for part of his company. It rained halfway through. He returned with damp shoulders and water spots on his red tie. How did it go? I asked. They asked where I saw myself in 5 years. What did you say? Employed. That honest? No. I said, leading a national accounts team. Do you want to lead a national accounts team? I want health insurance. He hung his jacket over a chair. Marlene called that afternoon. Peakline would receive a trial contract for 4 properties, provided Aaron used his corrected estimates and submitted a weekly progress schedule. He walked through the house with his fist pressed to his mouth, trying not to shout while she was still on the phone. When the call ended, he shouted anyway. Mark came home with a bottle of bourbon and 3 steaks. He hugged Aaron hard enough to lift him half an inch from the floor. You did it, he said. Aaron looked at me over Mark's shoulder. We'll see. At dinner, Mark raised his glass. To Peakline. I lifted my water. Aaron said, to not lying about the size of Peakline. Mark's smile flickered. You don't have to make it negative. It's not negative. It's specific. He had begun borrowing my language. It fit him strangely. The trial contract did not pay in advance. Aaron needed materials, crew deposits, and somewhere to stay while he completed the first roofs. He also received an offer from the estimating company on Thursday. The salary was less than he had earned during his best sales year, and more than he had earned during the previous 6 months combined. He turned it down. You said you wanted health insurance, I reminded him. I can't start a full-time job and do the trial contract. You could take the job and decline the trial. He stared at me as if I had suggested burning the house for warmth. This contract could turn into 48 properties. Could. It's the first real break I've had in a year. The job is also real. It's settling. No, it's employment. Mark came in from the kitchen. He has to bet on himself. He has $43. More now, Aaron said. Mark loaned me $500 for crew deposits. I looked at Mark. We'll get it back after the first payment, he said. Aaron rubbed both hands over his face. I need until the end of the month. Friday's deadline sat among us without needing to be named. No, I said. Mark pushed away from the counter. Come on, Aaron had a job offer. He chose not to take it. I chose the option with upside. You chose the option that requires my home to keep absorbing the downside. I'm not asking for the office. Yet. His face reddened. You think I enjoy this? No. You think I like being 40 years old and asking my brother whether I can buy materials? No. You think I didn't hear every word you said to my mother about the guest room? I know you did. He gripped the back of a chair. Then give me 2 weeks. Mark said, end of the month. That was always reasonable. There was no point asking when the decision had become always. I looked at Aaron. His boxes remained open in the guest room. Some had collapsed inward from being stepped around. The gold roof trophy stood on the windowsill between the curtain and the ring light. If I say yes, I said, the office remains completely off limits. Yes. No calls, no equipment, no storing things for an hour. Yes. You leave at the end of the month whether the trial contract pays or not. Aaron nodded. Mark reached for my hand. I moved it before he could touch me. Thank you, Aaron said. I had granted the extension to him. Mark wore it like a victory. The trial contract consumed the next 11 days. Roofing samples appeared beside the back door. Material invoices covered half the dining table. Aaron took calls from the kitchen, the patio, and once from Denise's parked car because she had finally gotten the inspection and wanted credit for contributing. He kept out of my office. Mark and I returned to Maya's beige room. He apologized for the shrine comment without being asked. When Maya asked what he understood the injury to be, he said, I used the part of her life that already costs her the most, and I treated it like something she was withholding from us. It was a good answer. I did not know whether it was a true one. At home, he began knocking. He asked before moving my things. He bought the yogurt I liked without presenting it as evidence of personal growth. On some nights, we lay close enough for our shoulders to touch. I wanted those small corrections to mean the larger fracture had closed. Wanting that frightened me more than the fracture. My VA follow-up fell 3 days before Aaron's final move-out date. I drove myself. Mark offered to come, and I told him I preferred to go alone. He accepted the answer on the first try. The appointment lasted longer than expected. We reviewed medications, sleep, work hours, and the supermarket. I admitted I was checking schedules more than necessary. I did not mention the office until the clinician asked whether home felt supportive. It's complicated, I said. On the drive back, I stopped for coffee. I sat in the parking lot and drank half of it while it was still hot. Nobody needed me to hurry. No deadline had changed because I took 11 minutes. When I reached home, the front door was propped open. Aaron's boxes lined the hallway. For one hopeful second, I thought he was packing early. Then I saw my gray chair. It stood beside the stairs with the leg support folded up. My label printer sat on the seat. My maps leaned against the wall. The wide monitor rested face in against a cushion on the floor. I could hear a drill inside the office. I set my coffee on the entry table and walked toward the sound. Mark was beneath the window assembling a large black desk. Aaron held the far end steady. His ring light stood in the corner. 2 new monitors were still in their foam packaging. They stopped when they saw me. Mark lowered the drill. What did you do? I asked. Aaron let go of the desk. We were going to put everything back before your workday. That's not what I asked. Mark stood. His first progress review is tomorrow. Marlene wants a video walkthrough of the scheduling process, so he can do it in the dining room. There are materials everywhere. His materials. We thought this would look more professional. Mark took a step toward me. It's one night. I looked at my equipment in the hallway. Did you move my things after I explicitly told you not to? It's my house, too. Yes or no? His jaw tightened. Yes. Aaron said, Tess, I know how it looks. It looks exactly like what it is. I've got 4 crews calling me, a review tomorrow, and nowhere I can hear myself think. You had a job offer. I'm trying to build something. So am I. You work 4 hours a day. The sentence left him too fast. Shame crossed his face, but desperation pushed through it. I can't rebuild a business while sharing space with someone everybody is waiting to fall apart. Mark said, Aaron. I felt the old pressure to answer with something devastating. Instead, I looked at Mark. He had heard it. He had helped move the chair anyway. Aaron leaves today, I said. Mark's face emptied. No. Yes. He has 3 days. He had a month. You can't throw him out because he said something stupid. I'm not. I'm telling him to leave because both of you heard me say no and decided my answer would expire when I wasn't here. If he goes, I go. Aaron turned toward him. Don't do that. Mark kept his eyes on me. He expected the threat to frighten me back into usefulness. I looked at the open boxes in the hallway. Then pack your things while they're already out. Neither man moved. The drill remained in Mark's hand. Aaron's fingers rested on the edge of the half-built desk. Somewhere inside one of the open boxes, a phone began vibrating against cardboard. Mark looked at me as if I had spoken in another language. You're serious? He said. Yes. Tessa, think about what you're doing. I have. For how long? 30 seconds? For every day since I came home. Aaron's phone stopped vibrating. He stepped away from the desk. I'll go, he said. Mark, you don't need to. Mark did not look at him. I said, if you left, I left. You said it to force her to back down. I meant it. No, you didn't. I'm not going to stand here while she throws you out. Aaron's face hardened. Then stop making me the reason you want to leave your wife. That reached him. Mark set the drill on the windowsill. You don't know what you're talking about. I've been living 10 feet from you for a month. You barely speak unless you're arguing about her. Pack your things. I am packing my things. I meant your business equipment. Aaron stared at him, then gave a small, bitter laugh. There he is. Mark walked past me without touching me. His shoulder came close enough that I felt the air move. Upstairs, closet doors opened. Aaron picked up one of the black desk legs. I can have this out in an hour, all of it. Yes, my equipment goes back. I know. Not wherever it fits, where it was. I know. I watched him unplug the new monitors. Tess, he said. No, I haven't said anything. I don't want another apology while you're still standing in the room you took. He nodded once. Fair. He disassembled the desk without speaking. The drill slipped twice because his hands shook. I wanted to take it from him and remove the screws in the correct order. Instead, I sat in my gray chair in the hallway and let him struggle with the cross brace. My leg hurt from the drive. The medication I had taken at the clinic made my mouth dry. Every few minutes, I looked toward the stairs. Mark came down carrying the green duffel he used for weekend trips. It was not full. You don't have to go, I said. His expression flickered. But you can't stay because you think leaving is a weapon, I continued. If you stay, we deal with what you did. And if I leave, we still deal with it. Then what difference does it make? I don't know yet. He gripped the duffel strap. That's convenient. Nothing about this is convenient. You get the whole house back. Your office, your schedules. Nobody interrupting you. And I lose my husband. You're the one telling me to pack. You told me you were going because you gave me a choice between my brother and you. No. I gave Aaron a consequence. You put yourself inside it. Aaron stopped drilling. Mark looked toward him. You're enjoying this? Deeply, Aaron said. It's every man's dream to carry a desk through a marital collapse. Then stay out of it. I tried. You kept volunteering me. Mark threw the duffel onto the couch. Where are we supposed to go? Aaron blinked. You can't afford a hotel. I can put it on a card. With what limit? That's my problem. It becomes mine when you can't pay it. The brothers stared at each other. I recognized the argument. Change the names, change the task, and it was the same one Mark and I had been having. Help offered as possession, refusal treated as betrayal. Aaron looked away first. Mom said I could use her couch. You said you'd rather die under the pillows. I was being expressive. I'm not staying at Mom's. Then get a hotel. With you? No. Mark looked genuinely offended. I'm leaving my house because of you. I asked you not to. You undermined me in front of my wife. You didn't need help. Mark opened his mouth, then closed it. Aaron picked up the desk leg and carried it into the hallway. The black desk went back into its packaging badly. The foam inserts no longer fit, so Aaron wrapped the top in a blanket from the guest room. He returned my wide monitor to the walnut desk and crawled beneath it to connect the cables. I stood beside him. The display cable goes in the left port. I remember. You're reaching for the right one. I was moving it. You were not. He moved his hand to the left port. When the monitor powered on, the screen came up at the wrong resolution. I could fix that later. Aaron set my label printer beside it. Maps? Closet. Upright. Not behind coats. He carried them in. He wiped his coffee ring off the desk with the hem of his t-shirt. It did not disappear completely. I'll pay to have that refinished, he said. You have $31. Less now. I almost asked how much less. I didn't. By the time the office was functional, Mark had packed a second bag. He took work clothes, toiletries, 2 pairs of shoes, and the framed photograph from his nightstand. Not our wedding picture. A photograph of him and Aaron at a baseball game years before I met either of them. He left his wedding ring on. That detail lodged under my ribs. Aaron loaded his boxes into the old pickup. There were too many for one trip. The guest room bed emerged gradually, wrinkled and covered in crumbs. The gold roof trophy went on the dashboard. The new monitors were wedged behind the seats. The ring light lay across the boxes in the truck bed with a towel tied over it in case of rain. Aaron came back for his laptop. Can I finish the progress review in the dining room tomorrow morning? He asked. No. He nodded. I figured. Call Marlene. Tell her you have to change locations. She'll ask why. You'll think of a direct answer. His mouth curved, then fell. I am sorry, he said. I looked at him. He did not list reasons. He did not mention the trial contract, the open boxes, or what Mark had told him. He simply stood there and let the sentence remain insufficient. I heard you, I said. It was the same answer I had given Mark. Aaron's eyes lowered. Mark carried his bags to the car. He refused to ride with Aaron, which meant they would take both vehicles. At the front door, he turned back. How long am I supposed to stay away? I don't know. Are you ending the marriage? I'm ending this conversation before we say more things we can't repair. That isn't an answer. It's the answer I have. He looked past me into the house. His coffee cup was still in the kitchen sink. His jacket hung over the dining chair. The grocery list we wrote together was attached to the refrigerator with a magnet from Shenandoah. His life was everywhere. I was scared too, he said. I know. I didn't do this because I don't love you. I know. The fact that I believed him made the doorway feel smaller. He waited, perhaps for love to become acquittal. It didn't. Mark stepped outside. I closed the door after him but did not lock it until both vehicles had pulled away. Denise called 6 minutes later. I watched her name pulse across the screen. On the 4th call, I answered. What have you done? She asked. Hello, Denise. Mark says you made him leave. Mark chose to leave. Because you threw Aaron out with nowhere to go. You offered your couch. That is not a solution. It was when you offered it. He has a business to run. He can run it from somewhere else. You have an entire house. I live in the entire house. She inhaled sharply. I don't know what happened to you in that program. Neither do I yet. This is not the Tessa I know. The Tessa you know renewed your car registration for 4 years. What does that have to do with anything? Nothing. That's the problem. Her voice sharpened. Mark stood by you through things most husbands would not tolerate. I closed my eyes. Behind them, I saw him kneeling beside my gray chair, threading the new buckle backward. I saw him outside the bathroom door. I saw him holding a drill beneath the office window. I know what he did for me, I said. Then how can you make him choose? He chose his brother, because family comes first. I thought I was family. Denise had no immediate answer. Then she said, "You know that isn't what I meant." I ended the call. The house was not peaceful after they left. Peace has warmth in it. This was absence. I walked through each room. 2 damp towels remained on the guest room floor. Aaron had left half a bottle of hot sauce in the refrigerator and a single roofing brochure beneath the couch. Mark's side of the closet held most of his clothes. His work boots were gone from beside the back door, leaving clean outlines in the dust. In the office, the shadow box still leaned against the wall. I sat at the desk and called Nia. She answered with, "Do I need shoes? For what?" "I don't know." It sounded serious. "They left? Both?" "Yes." "Do you want me to say good?" "No." "Do you want me to say sorry?" "No." "Excellent. I'm very qualified for silence." She stayed on the phone while I ate yogurt over the sink. When I told her I felt like I had detonated my marriage over a room, she said, "Was it a room?" "Yes." "Okay." I waited for more. "That's all?" I asked. "You told me not to give you obvious things. I thought you'd say it wasn't about the room. You already know that." I slept badly. At 2 a.m, I checked the front door. It was locked. I returned 5 minutes later and checked again. On the 3rd trip, I stood with my hand above the deadbolt and named what was happening. Locked door, empty house, fear, looking for a job. I went back upstairs without touching it. At 7, Mark texted, "Did I leave my blue work shirts?" "Yes." "Can I come get them after work?" I stared at the message. "Yes, please text before you arrive." His response came immediately. I shouldn't have to make an appointment to enter my own house. I typed 3 different answers and deleted them all. Then, "We need some distance today. I'll put the shirts in a bag on the porch." He did not reply. I worked my 4 hours. The monitor resolution was wrong. The chair sat 2 inches too low, and Aaron had plugged the label printer into the port I reserved for the backup drive. I corrected each thing. Linda asked if I wanted to increase to 6 hours the following week. "Yes," I said. "Take the weekend before you decide." "I've decided." She studied me through the screen. Is that the useful answer or the fast one? I looked at the route schedule, then at the blank wall behind it, the fast one. Ask me Monday. After I logged off, I carried Mark's blue shirts downstairs and folded them into a paper grocery bag. At 5:30, his car stopped at the curb. He did not come to the door. He sat behind the wheel while the engine ran. I watched through the curtain. After a minute, I took the bag outside. Mark lowered the passenger window but did not look at me. "You could have put them on the porch," he said. "I was going to." He reached for the bag. "Aaron's at Mom's. I'm at a hotel." "Okay." He did his review from her dining room. Mom walked through behind him in a robe. I tried not to smile. Mark saw me trying. For a second, his mouth moved too. Then he took the shirts. "I don't know how we got here," he said. I looked back at the front door, then toward the office window. "I do," I said. His face hardened. He drove away before I could tell him knowing was not the same as knowing how to get back. The sentence followed me back inside. Knowing how we got there did not make the house less empty. It only gave the emptiness a route map. On Monday, Linda asked about 6-hour days. "I want to try," I said. "Why? Because 4 feels manageable." That is a better answer. I practiced. I could tell. There was a delay. We agreed on 6 hours for the week, with the option to stop at 4 if my concentration slipped. She did not make me promise I would recognize the slip by myself. She told Carl to watch for it too. That bothered me until I realized teamwork was not the same as supervision. At 1:30, Carl flagged an inventory total I had entered twice. He wrote, "I assume you don't need 200 air filters in Roanoke unless they've started eating them." I corrected the duplicate and replied, Seasonal migration. His laughing reaction appeared immediately. I did not spend the rest of the day searching for another mistake. Mark returned to counseling on Thursday. He arrived before me and sat in the beige chair closest to the door. His shirt was wrinkled beneath his jacket. I wondered if the hotel had an iron, then hated myself for wondering. He was 44 years old. He could locate heat and a flat surface. Maya waited until we had both sat down. "Where are you staying?" she asked Mark. "Extended stay place near the highway. How is that? It smells like fried onions, even in the shower." I looked at the floor so he would not see my smile. He saw it anyway. His own mouth softened. Then Maya asked what had happened at home. Mark told the story carefully. He admitted moving my equipment. He admitted that I had explicitly told him not to. When he reached the threat to leave, he said, "I thought she would stop me." "Why?" Maya asked. "Because we're married. What did leaving mean to you? That I was choosing Aaron." "And were you?" He rubbed his palms over his knees. "I was choosing not to abandon him." Maya looked at me. "What did it mean to you? That he had found a way to make my no more painful than saying yes?" Mark looked across the room. "That sounds calculated. It didn't have to be calculated to work. I wasn't trying to punish you. You were willing to leave if I held the boundary. I was angry. So was I. I didn't move your desk." Maya asked what repair would look like. Mark answered first. "Aaron's gone. The office is back. I'd like to come home." I felt the old pull to solve the distance because he had named a simple action. Maya waited. "The office is back," I said. "That doesn't mean the problem left with Aaron." "What's the problem?" Mark asked. "You thought my consent was temporary. That's not fair. When I said no, you waited until I went to an appointment. I was going to put everything back. That made it worse." "How? You knew it was wrong enough to hide." His eyes shifted toward Maya, checking the room. Then he caught himself doing it. "I thought you'd overreact," he said. "You decided my reaction was invalid before I had it. I know how you react. You know how I used to react." He leaned back. "So what? I live in a hotel until you decide I've learned enough? You find an apartment." The words came out quieter than I expected. Mark stared at me. Maya did not move. "A separate apartment?" he asked. "Yes. For how long?" "I don't know." "You want a legal separation? I want us to stop treating your absence like a threat that expires when I get lonely. I am your husband, and I need to know whether you can respect me when it costs you something." His face went blank. The session ended without agreement. In the parking lot, he followed me to my car. "Tessa." I turned. "This is getting out of hand. It got out of hand before you left." I apologized. "Yes, I'm going to counseling. Aaron is out. What else do you want?" "I want time. You've had the house to yourself for a week. Treatment wasn't a vacation, and separation isn't one either." He looked exhausted. I wanted to straighten his collar. My fingers actually moved before I stopped them. Mark noticed. His expression broke open for a second. "Come home with me," he said. "No." He stepped back as if I had pushed him. That evening, he called to ask where we kept the home insurance login. In the password manager, I said, "Which one?" "The one you installed." "I don't remember the master password." "I don't know your password. You always logged in." "Yes." "I need proof of coverage for the hotel." "Then reset it." He went quiet. "This is what you wanted?" he asked. "To watch me struggle with stupid things?" "No. It sounds like you're enjoying it. It sounds like I'm not fixing it." "What's the difference?" "I'm not smiling." He hung up. 20 minutes later, a notification showed that the password had been reset. Mark was capable of nearly everything he assigned to me. He simply experienced competence as optional when mine was available. Aaron called the following night. His voice echoed and I could hear traffic. "Where are you?" I asked. "Outside a diner." "Why?" "Mom asked me to leave for 2 hours so her book club wouldn't see the boxes. You have more than one box? 14. You own 14 boxes and no apartment. When you say it like that, it sounds poorly planned. How would you say it? I wouldn't. He had lost one of the 4 trial properties after a crew arrived late. Marlene had not canceled the entire contract, but she had cut the next phase from 6 roofs to 2. I can still build it back, he said. You can. I called the estimating company. And the offer's still open. I start Monday. I leaned against the kitchen counter. That sounds smart. It feels like surrender. Those aren't opposites. He was silent. Mark's mad at me, he said. For taking the job? For letting him leave with me. You told him not to. He says I should have refused to pack. That would have gone well. He also says I made him look weak in front of you. How? I admitted he was using me. I opened the refrigerator. Aaron's hot sauce still sat on the top shelf. I had not thrown it away. Where is Mark? I asked. Same hotel. He wants me to split a 2-bedroom apartment with him. What do you want? A room that is not attached to anyone I share blood with. Growth. Don't. I smiled. He said, I found one near the estimating office. Private bath. The owner has a parrot, but it's supposedly quiet after sunset. Parrots respect boundaries. This one has a cover. Maybe Mark needs a cover. Aaron laughed, then stopped. I'm sorry he left, he said. He made a choice. He thought you'd stop him. I know. I thought you would too. That hurt differently. Why? Because you always do. I closed the refrigerator. Aaron continued before I could answer. Not stop him from leaving specifically. You stop things from reaching the bad part. You make the call, you pay the thing, you find the hotel, you tell everybody what time to show up. I thought you'd do whatever the marriage version of that is. So did he. Yeah. Neither of us spoke for a while. Then Aaron said, the bad part isn't as dramatic as I expected. No, it's mostly paperwork. The next morning, Mark texted me at 9:20. Do you know where the quarterly review drive is? In your desk drawer, I wrote. At home? Yes. I need it at 10. I looked at the clock. He had left the small flash drive in the top drawer of his desk 3 weeks before I entered treatment. I remembered because he had asked me to remind him where he put it. He called. Can you bring it? I'm working. It's 20 minutes away, each direction. My review starts in 40 minutes. You should tell your supervisor you'll be late. Tess, please. The word pulled at me. I could picture the drive beneath the stapler. I could be out the door in 4 minutes. I could arrive before 10 if traffic cooperated. Mark would look relieved. I would feel useful. The day would smooth itself around the crisis. I can put it on the porch, I said. You can come get it. I won't make it. I'm sorry. No, you're not. I'm sorry you're in trouble. I'm not sorry I'm staying at work. He ended the call. At noon, I found the flash drive exactly where I remembered it. I left it in the drawer. Mark missed the first half of the review. He told me about it during counseling, not because he wanted sympathy, but because Maya asked what had happened since our previous session. My supervisor said I came in unprepared, he said, which I did. He looked at me. I wanted her to bring the drive. She didn't. Maya asked what that meant to him. At first, that she was punishing me. And now? He rubbed his thumb across his wedding ring. That I left it behind. There was no triumph in being right, only a strange quiet. Maya asked what he had done after the meeting. I apologized to my supervisor and rescheduled the part I missed. What did that cost? Embarrassment. Maybe a shot at leading the next project. He glanced at me again, but I handled it. Yes, I said. He nodded. After the session, we had coffee at a place across the street. It was the first time we had chosen to remain together after the required hour ended. Mark wrapped both hands around his cup. I signed a 6-month lease, he said. The room tilted slightly. Where? Apartment near the river. Small. No fried onion shower. That's good. Is it? I don't know. He looked down at the coffee. Aaron took the room with the parrot. Quiet after sunset, he says. He accepted the estimating job. I know. The word carried more than information. Mark stared through the window. He asked me to help move his boxes. I said no. Why? I didn't want to. I waited. That's allowed, apparently, he added. Apparently. A smile came and went. Then he said, I want to come home. You just signed a lease. I can break it. I don't want you to. His face tightened. Do you want a divorce? The question had been in every room with us. Hearing it spoken did not make the answer appear. I don't know, I said. How long am I supposed to live inside? I don't know. As long as it's true. He leaned back. I miss you. I miss you too. Then why are we doing this? Because missing each other isn't the same as being safe with each other. I never hurt you. You erased me from my own home while telling yourself you were helping. His eyes filled, though he did not look away. I was relieved when you went away, he said, and then I hated myself for being relieved. Aaron needed me, and that felt easier. Every problem he had was something I could fix with money or a room or a desk. And me? You needed me to sit still while you did things I couldn't control. The coffee machine hissed behind the counter. Mark pressed his palms against his eyes. I don't know how to be useful to you now. The answer rose from somewhere tired and honest. What if I don't need you to be useful? He lowered his hands. I continued. What if I need you to believe me when I tell you what hurts? I'm trying. I know. He reached across the table but stopped before touching my hand. Is trying enough? I looked at his hand between us. Not yet, I said. Mark left his hand on the table for another second, then drew it back. That's a hard answer, he said. I know. Is it supposed to give me hope? It isn't supposed to do anything. It's true. He nodded slowly. We finished our coffee. We even talked about ordinary things. The leaking faucet in the upstairs bathroom. The fact that Denise had found a mechanic who agreed with her about the mileage, which meant she now trusted him completely. Aaron's parrot, whose name turned out to be Kevin and who shouted, "Thank you," whenever the microwave beeped. When Mark stood to leave, he waited beside my chair. Can I hug you? He asked. The question hurt more than if he had simply reached for me. Yes. He held me carefully, as though care could be measured by pressure. I put my face against his shoulder and smelled the hotel detergent on his shirt. For a few seconds, I wanted to tell him to break the lease. Then the feeling passed, and I let it pass without mistaking it for an order. Aaron returned his key after his second week at the estimating company. He came to the house on a Saturday morning wearing khaki pants and a polo shirt, with the company logo over the pocket. The shirt was too large, the pants were too short, and he looked more comfortable than he ever had in the Navy suit. He knocked. When I opened the door, he held up the key between two fingers. I come bearing access I no longer require. Very ceremonial, I practiced in the truck. I stepped aside. Do you want coffee? Is that a trap? No. Then yes. He waited until I walked toward the kitchen before entering. That was new. He set an envelope on the counter. Inside was a check for the replacement wheel on my chair, and the amount a furniture repair shop had quoted to remove the coffee mark from my desk. I looked at the number. This is too much. It's what they quoted. The wheel already caught. It caught. It didn't wobble. You noticed, I used it for a month. The truth of that irritated me all over again. You don't have to pay for the whole desk repair, I said. Yes, I do. You're renting a room from a parrot. Kevin and I have boundaries. How's that going? He has no respect for bedtime. I set the check down. Aaron wrapped both hands around his coffee mug. Marlene kept me on the 2 properties. Good. I'm doing them on weekends. The estimating company knows. Also good. I hate having a boss, and I'm shocked. She keeps asking where I am during work hours. Abusive. But the paycheck cleared twice in a row. Apparently that's common in employment. He smiled, then grew serious. I thought because you were gone, you'd quit your life. I leaned against the counter. He continued. Not consciously. I didn't think, Tessa surrendered. Quick, steal a room. But Mark said you might not work. He said home could be too much. I looked at the office and saw unused space. It wasn't unused. I was absent. I know that now. Do you? Yes. He looked down at the mug. Treatment wasn't you surrendering authority over your life. No, it was where I learned to stop surrendering it. He nodded. Then he slid the key across the counter. "I'm sorry," he said. It was still imperfect. He had not become a new man because he wore a company polo and paid one repair bill. He still interrupted. He still described a borrowed room as his place when talking about Kevin. He still tried to turn every failure into a comeback before he had fully admitted the failure. But when I said, "I heard you," he did not ask whether that meant forgiveness. He finished his coffee and left. Mark and I kept going to counseling. Some sessions were good. In one, he admitted he had told Denise I was at a wellness program because saying residential trauma treatment embarrassed him. He had convinced himself he was protecting my privacy. In front of whom? I asked. Everyone. From what? The way people look at you, or the way they might look at you. He sat with that. In another session, I admitted I had used competence as a hiding place. If I handled every bill, every appointment, every family crisis, nobody could accuse me of being a burden. Then I went into the office and resented them for letting me do it. Mark looked at me. "Why didn't you ask for help? Because then you could say no." I might have said yes. "I know. Do you? I'm learning." We had dinner together twice. The first time, Mark reminded me to take my medication, caught himself, and apologized before I said anything. The second time, I asked if he had paid his electric bill. He raised one eyebrow. "Would you like to log in and check?" he asked. "No. Growth. Don't." We laughed. Love survived in small places. It sat between us in restaurants. It appeared when he sent me a photograph of the first meal he cooked in his apartment, a burned piece of salmon beside rice so wet it looked frightened. It came with me when I went to the supermarket alone and heard a pallet jack beep 3 aisles away. I stayed. I bought chicken even though it was not on sale. At work, 6-hour days became 7. Linda made me wait another month before returning to a full schedule. I disliked her for 3 days and then admitted she was right. Carl caught another duplicate entry. I caught one of his. Neither event became a referendum on who deserved a job. The house developed new routines. I learned that one person did not generate enough laundry to justify sorting by day. I stopped buying deli ham because I never liked it. I let the grocery list remain unfinished on the refrigerator until I needed something. Mark's jacket stayed over the dining chair for almost 2 months. I could have packed it. I did not. When he came to retrieve winter clothes, he saw it and ran his thumb across the sleeve. "I thought you'd thrown this away. It's a good jacket." I left it on a chair. "Yes, you hate that. I'm expanding." He smiled, but his eyes filled. By then, his apartment had books on the shelves and a kitchen table he assembled himself. The table leaned slightly. He knew how to fix it. He had chosen not to yet. He did not ask to come home during every visit. That made being around him easier and deciding about the marriage harder. Maya asked us separately to write down what reconciliation would require. Mark brought 3 pages. I brought 1 sentence. I need to want the marriage, not merely feel guilty for ending it. Mark read it twice. "You don't want it," he said. "I want parts of it." "That isn't what you wrote?" "No." The beige noise machine hissed beyond the door. He folded his 3 pages in half. "I thought if I did everything right, you'd come back. I'm the one who stayed in the house. You know what I mean." For the first time, the phrase made both of us smile. Then he said, "You know what I mean. I do." He pressed the folded pages against his knee. "I stayed when things were bad. I know. I went to appointments. I sat outside the bathroom. I packed your bag for the program when you couldn't decide what socks to take. I remember. I don't regret any of it. I know." "Then why doesn't it count?" "It counts. Not enough." "No." His face crumpled briefly before he brought it back under control. I reached for his hand. "Gratitude is part of why this took me so long," I said. "You did things for me that were hard and loving. Then you used my treatment to make decisions about who I would be when I came home. I thought I was helping. I believe you. I didn't want you to disappear. You wanted the part of me that said no to disappear." He looked at our hands. "I wish I had listened sooner," he said. "So do I." We ended the marriage in that room without shouting, threats, or anyone being declared healed. The practical ending took longer. There were accounts to separate, furniture to divide, and boxes to pack. Mark kept the couch because he had always liked it more. I kept the dining cabinet Denise hated. He took the blue striped sheets. I bought white ones again, then returned them and chose green because I realized bleach had never been a personality. The last of his belongings fit into 4 boxes. He sealed everyone. On his final trip, he stood in the office doorway while I removed a book from the shelf. The shadow box was still leaning against the wall. "You never hung it," he said. "Not yet." "Do you want me to?" "No." He accepted the answer. His eyes moved to the walnut desk, the repaired chair, and the pale rectangle on the wall. "I did love you," he said. "I know, I still do. I know that too." He waited. I did not say it back immediately because for most of our marriage I had used words to stop other people's pain before checking whether they were true. Then I said, "I love you too." Mark closed his eyes. It did not change the boxes. We carried them to his car together. At the curb, he handed me his house key. The metal was warm from his palm. "Do you think I only missed what you carried?" he asked. "No." He looked surprised. "I think you missed me," I said. "I think you also missed what I carried and you didn't know the difference until I put it down." He nodded. "That sounds right." We hugged once. He drove away without looking back, which was kinder than making me watch him try. I stood at the curb until his car turned out of sight. Then I went inside and locked the door. Once. The shadow box eventually went on the side wall of the office, where it did not appear behind me during work calls. I put the unit photograph on the shelf beside an ordinary green plant that required more attention than its tag had promised. The blank space above my desk stayed blank. One morning, a delivery truck braked hard outside. My pulse climbed. I checked the driveway, then checked it again because the first look had not convinced my body. On the third urge, I stopped. I named the desk beneath my hand, the repaired wheel under my chair, the fan moving air across the room, the photograph on the shelf, and the open office door. A message from Carl appeared on my monitor. "Roanoke wants to change Thursday's dock time. Can you look?" I read the request once. Then I turned to the work in front of me. The door stayed open because I wanted it open.